Good evening. Welcome, everyone, to American Advocates with Glenn finally in the chat to tell me it's episode 62. I would have thought it was episode 60 if it weren't for him. Where would this stream be without you, Glenn? Appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. And he also says a record 17,500 views on the last stream. That's true. Yep, that beat my old record of 15,000. So we're going places. It's a back and forth battle with the algorithm, Glenn. I never really know how to hit it just right. And it seems like the algorithm just kind of teases me like once every 4 to 6 weeks. Coincidentally, the same time frame we were told this Iran war would last for, by the way. It teases me once every 4 to 6 weeks, be like, hey man, yeah, we're gonna throw you a bone here. So yeah, I wound up walking away with that stream last night with an additional like 35 subscribers. It was a pretty good night last night. I expect it to be cratering tonight now, though, especially because once the algorithm allows my channel to get out there, and then it realizes the nature of my content, it no doubt literally goes from pushing it to literally there's probably something said in there where it's like, wow, this guy, yeah, we can never allow him to be discovered again. So anyways, there's some stuff to discuss tonight. Going to take predominantly a pretty large break, honestly, from the Iran war, though maybe I'll cover it loosely towards the end, and briefly I'll obviously start off the way that I have been. Day 40 of the Iran war coming to a close. 40 days of the Iran war. Can you believe it? I can't believe it. 46 billion dollars spent so far. And yes, I still consider us at war with Iran. This ceasefire doesn't seem to be holding up too well. And even the updates I was seeing today kind of confirm that Hezbollah and Israel are still bombing each other, which is pissing off Iran. Iran's only allowed now 15 boats through the Strait of Hormuz from what I saw. Trump is furious about it. So now Trump is saying, well, naval presence will stay in the Strait of Hormuz, and Iran is being dishonorable by not allowing the normal frequency of ships through. Trump's also backtracked, of course, on his stance with the tolling of these ships, where I covered last night. He seemed to be not only okay with it, but okay with it to the point of where he wanted the U.S. to profit off of Iran's tolling of the tankers through the Strait of Hormuz. He's now backtracked on that today, I saw, where he's saying, well, this can't happen. This is not allowed. So it's a mixed match. It's back and forth. Who knows what's going on anymore? Trump doesn't even know what's going on anymore. That's the bottom line when it comes to what's going on there. And I'll go over some updates towards the end of this stream, but I want to actually just take a break from the Iran war topic just a little bit today to discuss something else Trump did on Truth Social. So, Eddie says, Glenn, you're one lazy SOB. Actually, Glenn is, when he's here and he's not falling asleep, he is a pretty good moderator. So, I give Glenn some props, actually. And I mean, all this in mind, of course, with the fact that Glenn is an unpaid moderator. So, we give Glenn some praise. And then when we fall asleep, then I just throw him under the bus entirely. Eric M0808 says, I think you are well informed. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Seriously, you must have been one of the newer viewers maybe last night or whatnot. But yeah, welcome. Appreciate you being here. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. And please, guys, like the stream if you haven't already as well. You can do that by double tapping your phone screen or finding the thumbs up button if you're watching on your computer. It really does help the stream perform well in the algorithm. But I really appreciate that, Eric. Thank you. I am a fairly paid unpaid mod. That's true. Yeah. All right, guys. So here's what's going on here. We got to discuss this because Trump has fractured. I think this could be the final nail in the party. In all honesty, we're watching this like self-sabotaging downward spiral of the Trump administration, without a doubt. At this point, the Iran war really did kick that off even more so, I think. And honestly, you can go back to the Epstein file debacle of last year to point to where it really did start to spiral down. This was, of course, back in May with that cabinet meeting where Trump was trying to tell us that the Epstein files was a hoax. That was the first time for me where I had that pit in my stomach and I thought, that's not right. Something's not right here. But beyond that, of course, this Iran war really, really has created a divide with the GOP. And it's based off of a generational gap that I've talked about on this channel now for quite a while. I talked about it pretty much all last year as well, actually. And that is, of course, the line that is drawn on it, where you have above the line, you have the Gen X and especially the boomers, but below the line, you have the millennials and the Gen Z, and we really are living very different lives in this country currently, and it's creating a massive divide. We're in what's called the fourth turning, in all honesty, and you should read that book if you haven't already, because it is very revealing. about the times that we're living in, where the old ways are being held on tightly by the old generations, the old establishment that doesn't want to give them up. But the harder they hold on and grip, the more the tension rises, and it's like squeezing sand. You have the gaps in your fingers. The harder you squeeze that sand, the more of it you lose. And ultimately, that is what's going to happen as the young generations are coming up and are taking more power. And I believe, actually, 2026, these midterms will reflect that a little bit more. But ultimately, we will really start to see the shift in 2028. And the gap is most evident on topics like Israel, the Epstein files, the Middle East wars, the economy in general, the housing market, everything. Trump truly is a line that I stole actually from Owen Schroyer. Trump is the boomer's last gasp. It truly is being made known right now. He is the boomer's last gasp. Everything he has done has been in service of the boomers, from talking about the stock market doing well, to talking about housing market prices and how he wants them to go up, to talking about how, we got to take it easy on the farmers with immigration and how immigrants deserve a chance at a life here and blah, blah, blah. Just things that don't echo well or sit well with the young generations. And now, of course, the Middle East war, which no millennial can approve really deep down, and Gen Z can't either. We grew up with this Middle East fatigue inherently, because honestly, life did change. For those of us who are alive, we understand life changed for the worse after 9/11. Our American culture just started spiraling downhill. You can see this reflected in our entertainment, actually. A popular show that I actually point to all the time to really allow you to point to the reality of how this changed in our entertainment culture-wise was 9/11. The Sopranos show, which is very popular with a lot of people, was caught in the middle, honestly, of its seasons with 9/11. And you can see this in the show. And the writing, of course, has a part to play, too, where they're all slowly killing each other. So it gets more depressing inherently because of the writing, but you can see the impact of our culture after 9/11 with a show like The Sopranos, where the first two seasons are real, though it's dark humor, it's still lighthearted. There's a sunniness, a vibrance to it. You go back and watch a lot of 90s movies and television shows, and it's just more vibrant. Everything about life was more colorful. There's this shade of color now that we see on these buildings. It's literally called millennial gray. And you see this happen where McDonald's and Burger King, not that they're beacons of health, but you grew up with these fond, nostalgic memories of colorful roofs, colorful blue Burger King roof, big yellow golden arches for McDonald's, the red restaurant-style roof with the white brick and the yellow colors everywhere. And now it's just a square, and it's gray, and it's beige, and it's black, and it's disgusting, and it's boring, and it's depressing. And so that's what millennials and Gen Z think of when we think of Middle East wars, because these wars do have an impact on our culture. And worse yet, the further down the rabbit hole you go when it comes to these Middle East wars, the more you understand what the real end game is here for the world, and as a result of that, for our country, where we are just being used as a piggy bank and as a sacrifice to achieve a different purpose in the Middle East that doesn't suit any of our interests, our best interests here in this country. And so the generational gap has been exposed by Trump basically getting into office, promising us everything that we wanted and delivering on none of it ultimately, and really just going out as the boomers' last gasp. This is all done. Boomers love taking the war to the Middle East again. They love it. They don't, by the way, they have nothing to lose. Boomers love when the stock market does well. Their 401ks, everything is invested in that for years. Boomers want the housing market to go up because they bought their properties dirt cheap. And so boomers are insulated from this, and they celebrate all of this stuff, while millennials and Gen Z are once again being sacrificed and left high and dry at the boomers' expense. Generation, by the way, that will pretty much be dead in the next 20 years, pretty conclusively. And it can't happen soon enough, let's just be honest. The sooner the boomers hit the deceased line overall, and I apologize for the cool boomers that are definitely in my chat. I know I have a few. But the sooner that generation hits the deceased line, the better, because if this country can be saved, it's not going to be saved by them. And so what we saw today, truthfully, was kind of like the final straw, though, honestly, I think, when it comes to the divide and the fracture of the MAGA cult, what was once the MAGA coalition, now definitely a MAGA cult. And it's the final fracture. Trump's Truth Social post today, this just laying into some of the most prominent, popular right-wing conservative pundit speakers out there. We're talking Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, and Alex Jones. And this is what he had to say about it. I know why Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, and Alex Jones have all been fighting me for years, especially by the fact that they think it's wonderful for Iran, the number one state sponsor of terror, to have a nuclear weapon because they have one thing in common: low IQs. They're stupid people and they know it. Their families know it, and everyone else knows it too. Look at their past, look at their record. They don't have what it takes. They never did. They've all been thrown off television, lost their shows, and aren't even invited on TV because nobody cares about them. They're nut jobs, troublemakers, and will say anything necessary for some free and cheap publicity. Now they think they get some clicks because they have third-rate podcasts, but nobody's talking about them, and their views are the opposite of MAGA, or I wouldn't have won the presidential election in a landslide. MAGA agrees with me and just gave CNN a 100% approval rating of Trump, not handing flailing fools like Tucker Carlson, who couldn't even finish college. He was a broken man and he got fired from Fox, and he's never been the same. Perhaps he should see a good psychiatrist. Or Megyn Kelly, who nastily asked me the now famous only Rosie O'Donnell question. Or crazy Candace Owens, who accuses the highly respected First Lady of France of being a man when she is not, and will hopefully win lots of money in an ongoing lawsuit. Actually, to me, the First Lady of France is a far more beautiful woman than Candace. All right, some of it, it's still kind of funny, all right? There's one silver lining here, and it's Trump saying that, all right? Give me a break. In fact, it's not even close. Or bankrupt this is the worst part, though. Or bankrupt Alex Jones, who says some of the dumbest things. I'm not even going to do his impression, actually, because this is actually the part that is the most fucking insulting, honestly. All right, I'm not a bleeding heart person. I'm rarely ever offended, but I like to make light of his True Social posts. They're crazy. I like to use my impression of his voice, but I'm actually not going to do that for this part because this is like the final betrayal, in all honesty. So I'm just going to read it for what it is. And he says, or bankrupt Alex Jones, who says some of the dumbest things and lost his entire fortune, as he should have, for his horrendous attack on the families of Sandy Hook shooting victims, ridiculously claiming it was a hoax. These so-called pundits are losers, and they always will be. Now fake news CNN, the failing New York Times, and all of the radical left news organizations are hailing them and giving them positive press for the first time in their lives. They're not MAGA, they're losers, just trying to latch onto MAGA. As president, I could get them on my side anytime I want to, but when they call, I don't return their calls because I'm too busy in the world and country affairs, and after a few times go nasty, just like Marjorie Trader Brown, but I no longer care about that stuff. I only care about doing right for our country. MAGA is about winning and strength and not allowing Iran to have nuclear weapons. MAGA is about making America great again, and these people have no idea how to do that, but I do, because the United States is now the hottest country anywhere in the world. President Donald J. Trump. Like, I don't even know where to begin with that. I genuinely... it's so full of contradictions. I think that's what I'm going to spend a good chunk of this episode just tearing it apart. Because in all honesty, everything from the fact that he brags about CNN giving him a 100% approval rating of him, to then literally a few sentences later saying fake news CNN and the New York Failing Times are all hailing them and giving them positive press. So which one is it? Is the 100% approval rating from CNN of Trump real, or is CNN fake news? Again, there's something wrong with this guy at this point. And, you know, one of the things I want to point out too, let's actually just break this down. I'm just going to break this down and everything that's wrong with it. First of all, the names listed: Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, and Alex Jones. Before I rip into one of them because she deserves it, I will admit, and everybody should admit at this point, when it comes to 2023, 2024, you're hard pressed to find any other bigger names when it comes to the support that Trump got from them and their audiences. Okay, Megyn Kelly may have had an issue with Trump during his first run. Honestly, a lot of people did. I was not even. I think I was still in high school, college when Trump was running. I was in college. I was young when Trump was running, and I didn't even think I liked Trump at first. And then the more I listened to him at that time, the more I realized he appealed to all of my righteous indignation and anger when it came to the system and everything that was wrong with our politics and our country. But it took me even a little while to come around. And Megyn Kelly had the same debacle. But for the sake of Trump's second term here, Megyn Kelly was a big supporter of Trump's with her audience. Tucker Carlson, the same. Candace Owens, the same. And Candace Owens was not a big, I don't even trust Candace Owens that much, but she was not even a big Trump supporter either in his first term. But she came around as well. And undeniably, these three, combined with Alex Jones, who supported Trump from the beginning, devoted their audiences, devoted their support, and they're pretty much incited their audiences to support Trump. Alex Jones, the entire way through, by the way, only up until recently. Alex Jones actually has been under attack and criticism the past couple of months because he actually refused to acknowledge the truth. The truth I've been talking about on this channel now for months, of course. Alex Jones actually refused to acknowledge that. He was literally living in La La Land to some degree, and I can't even blame the guy. People don't even understand how much Alex Jones has to lose if Trump doesn't live up to all of the hype and the promises, which he's not doing. And so for Trump to do this, first and foremost, the biggest problem is Alex Jones has been perhaps the realest one. Like, Alex Jones is the realest one. I discovered Alex Jones personally in the year 2009. I was in high school. I was just starting off high school, and I discovered Alex Jones. And because of him, I understand the world a lot differently than most people do. And it's honestly crazy. I can also tell you from watching so much of Alex Jones growing up, the man has been right 80% of the time. And he does get a little wacky at times. He says some crazy shit sometimes. But it's undeniable. It's just undeniable. Alex Jones's track record is proven. He's like the blueprint of conspiracy theories, which at this point, by the way, conspiracy theories, the joke is, you hear it in my chat all the time, what's the difference between a conspiracy theory and a fact? 6 months. Well, Alex Jones has been the guy talking about everything that's happening now. He's been doing this since the late 90s. And he was the guy supporting Trump. He had to decide at the time between supporting Trump and Ted Cruz in Texas. And Ted Cruz was the clean-cut, neocon conservative, the same slop that we were being fed, right? Mitt Romney failed, but Ted Cruz would have succeeded. And Alex Jones had the tough choice of picking, but he had Trump on his show. Nobody wanted to get behind Trump back then, but Alex Jones did. And Alex Jones at the time, by the way, had audiences, and he still does have a prominent audience, but at the time, Alex Jones, though it was somewhat underground, oftentimes had numbers, viewership, audiences that were bigger than mainstream media news channels. Because this was, of course, 2014, 2015, and the internet was becoming more and more prominent, and people were starting to tune out more and more from mainstream as it was back then anyway. I have not watched television. I don't even... I have a TV somewhere in here, and it's not even plugged in. I was already doing the same thing. I was watching InfoWars, and I was watching other channels like that. So for Trump to just attack these people is really the final straw. I've been saying it on this channel for a long time now. This is the watershed moment. This is the realization of what I've been saying and what other people have been saying too. MAGA is done. MAGA, the coalition, is completely done. It's a cult, and not only is it a cult, but it's a cult that's been infiltrated by Zionists, and the faces of it, Trump is open about. What does Trump say? He says, Tucker, Megyn, Candace, and Alex are not MAGA. And I wanted to say this, too, because when it comes to Candace Owens, I'm just going to say this. I personally think she is retarded. I just do. And that's because I've been watching Alex Jones since 2009. So I genuinely know what a good conspiracy consists of. And what a good conspiracy consists of in order to point to very likely something that's a reality and a truth. Candace Owens is like this soap opera in the political world, and she's 20% on the money, and that's the problem. So people eat it up because she's saying some of the right things and then just goes completely off the wall. And she's been wrong about so much. She won't ever admit it. She never addresses it, which is a problem. And when I'm wrong on this channel, I've admitted it. She doesn't do that. And so I do think she's kind of retarded, but I give her respect for coming around on Trump in this most recent term here, and I give her objective respect in saying that she did push Trump to her audience, and for him to throw her under the bus is still gross. But for him to say Tucker, Megyn, and Alex, and especially Alex Jones, are not MAGA, all the while, what has he been doing over the past couple of weeks? He's been directly pointing us to Mark Levin. Mark Levin, Ben Shapiro. These guys were like never Trumpers. This is how you know the movement's done. It's been replaced. These are the same people that donated the second they thought they could to Ron DeSantis. Oh, DeSantis, what a great candidate. DeSantis is a great candidate. Yeah, DeSantis, so clean cut and proper. He's going to be the guy. And then only when they realize that he's not do they start becoming Trump-level sycophants again. And the other name he mentions here, Marjorie Taylor Brown, of course, he's referring to MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene. This I've pointed out too because I have a huge problem with this. Marjorie Taylor Greene, I distinctly remember him saying Marjorie Taylor Greene calls him sometimes 3 times a day in a panic, and she's wacky and I can't handle it. She's out of her mind. So who does he decide to take multiple phone calls per week from instead? Laura Loomer, who allegedly she was institutionalized twice for psychotic breakdowns and mental issues. I've seen a lot of pretty good credible evidence that suggests that that's true. It's allegedly, but I've seen like official paperwork on the internet circulating around that literally suggests she was institutionalized twice. And Trump will take her phone call multiple times a week. Lindsey Graham, they go golfing together. Lindsey Graham's a true friend, but not Alex Jones. Not Alex Jones, the guy who literally lost his fortune because he supported Trump. And I'm sick and tired also of arguing with people now online. I got retweeted again by Cat Turd, as if he's ever done anything significant. He shares boomer-coded memes online, and then he's been on Tucker Carlson's podcast, by the way. And this is the guy that retweets me again today and calls me an idiot because I said Alex Jones sacrificed everything for Trump, which is undeniably true. And then I have to deal with all of the boomer idiots, the low IQ, literally. The generational gap, part of the generational gap is, yes, IQ has started dropping since the 90s, but as 90s kids, we have inherently higher IQs than the boomers. They are simpletons. We're talking about the era that grew up with non-colored television, 3 channels, read the newspaper, William F. Buckley. Like, this generation is dumb. And it reflects in the comments and the replies I was getting today where they're like, you don't know anything. You're just so uninformed. Alex Jones lost his fortune because he criticized Sandy Hook and implied it was a hoax. Oh, you mean like how Trump implied the Epstein files, which is very likely a whole situation responsible for thousands of minors being victims? You like how Trump said that was a hoax? Is it anything like that, or is it worse than that somehow? I don't know. You tell me. And then on top of that, they don't even do their research. So you have to tell them about the Paul Weiss law firm. They don't know. They don't even know. They don't read. They read headlines from Fox News, and they watch Fox News. And then the boomers that think they're cute, the cute boomers that think they're informed, they're like, oh, I've been watching this new show. It's called Newsmax. Have you ever heard of Newsmax? Shut up. Shut the fuck up. And this is what I've been dealing with. And I'm laughing about it because of how tragic this is. This is done. This MAGA is done. And it's kind of tragic in one sense, but so necessary in the other sense. It is so necessary. Boomers are the worst generation, Michael White. I agree. I know the chats are coming in, guys. I will catch up on the chats. I'll take a look at them. I'll definitely take a look at the chats, guys. I have to unload today. I just have to. And in one sense, I'm excited to be discussing something that's not the Iran war. But on the other sense, it's like, this is actually ridiculous now. This is actually the final straw, or should be the final straw. You know, if you've been following me on this channel, which you guys should be, subscribe to American Advocates right now. It's free, and it's the least you can do, you cattle. And like the stream if you haven't already. So many views, not a lot of likes. Double tap your phone screens, find that thumbs up button, and hit a like. But the bottom line is, I'm excited to be talking about something that's not the Iran war, but this should be the final straw. And on this channel, the final straw they came months and months and months ago. You know that, obviously. I've already been ragging on Trump since September when it's like the realization. I was forced to the realization. I tried to be delusional, and Alex Jones actually outlasted me on the delusion, and I don't blame him, like I said. But, you know, come September, it's just like you got to start asking the real questions here. So I want to break down a little bit more here. Let me see. There was something else that I hated about this. Throwing off their television shows. Yeah, so let's talk about that. Why were these guys thrown off the television, the airwaves? Why were they thrown off of mainstream media TV? Can anybody in chat guess why somebody like a Tucker Carlson or an Alex Jones isn't on mainstream TV, which Trump seems to think is some sort of a gotcha moment? That's the gotcha moment. Well, they're not even allowed on mainstream media. All the networks that lie to you and that are paid for by Zionist shills and all kinds of large corporations. I mean, what kind of people are these? If they're not even allowed on CNN or Fox News, are they even credible? My goodness, I can't believe anybody listens to them. They're banned off of mainstream television. That should tell you all you need to know. It's just like, you can't ask for something more out of touch. You just can't. I'm just like, I've been done with him cognitively with Trump. I've been done with him on this channel for months now, like I said. But like, I'm like so done with him now that I'm just like, I'm going insane over it. It's so bad that it is genuinely funny. It's so bad. Nut jobs and troublemakers, he says. Oh, wow. I wonder why they're nut jobs and troublemakers. Opposite of MAGA. At this point, being the opposite of MAGA is a good thing. And is there anything else? Yeah, the bankrupt Alex Jones. So this is the argument that I had to have with people on X today after Cat Turd retweeted me and sicked his geriatric 85-year-old. Like, these people need to unplug. They just, never mind, I'm not even going to say it. They just need to hit the deceased line. We got to save this country, and we won't do. What's being revealed to me more and more is it's over. It's done. It's done. I'm about to take the black pill. I've been telling. I end every stream by saying don't take the black pill, and I'm about to do it after interacting with all these people on X today, because it's just like what can we do anymore? We have to take power politically, and we have to have good people run for office. Protesting is stupid and gay. It doesn't work. Obviously, violence is not a good answer. So there's no real reason to do that. It really does just come down to politics, running for office. But where are these people going to come from, I guess, is now the question I'm being forced to ask myself after dealing with all of these idiots online today, defending Trump and telling people like Alex Jones what MAGA is. The backlash for Trump's post has been insane. It's been insane. Even on Truth Social, I have screenshots. Even on Truth Social, Trump's social media app. Trump's social media app. These are some of the comments to Trump's statement about Alex Jones specifically. They were the most upset about Alex Jones. Cali Maga 69 on Truth Social says, "What? You are way out of line. Most of these people, especially Alex Jones, have been your day ones. You need to step back and take a good hard look at who is whispering in your ear. Get back to America first. I've personally put up with years of abuse from whack jobs out here in California for showing my support of you. But after this, I am hanging up my red MAGA hat you signed. Get right, Trump." Deportation News says Trump just going against everyone that fought for him to win just because of the Epstein files and being at war with Iran for Israel. They didn't leave MAGA. MAGA left them. MAGA left me too. So sad to see. You had so much potential, Trump. Voted for you all 3 times, and I feel so betrayed. Sleepy says, clearly you're insane. Time to resign, Donald, or face the 25th. You are mentally and emotionally unfit to be POTUS. Corkum says, Trumpy is mad that the people who believed and spread his campaign lies don't believe him anymore. What a deranged lunatic. Hashtag 25th Amendment now. Clearly a liberal on there, but we'll include it. The gray area. So we can only listen to Mark Levin for news. People helped you get elected. You are actively alienating your base every day. This is sad. Blake says, the pot calling the kettle black. Hilarious. Sounds like a 5th grader. Donald Trump is a loser. Everybody knows it. Total psychopath. Low IQ. The lowest. Everyone knows it. The lowest. He's so insecure he has to belittle his critics. What an embarrassment to the United States. Someone get this man on meds immediately. They just keep going on. These comments on Truth Social. These are not comments on Blue Sky, not even on X or Facebook or any. This is not Instagram. Truth Social. Misty Fields on there says, as of last week, they've done nothing but make excuses for your behavior, and you think they're the enemy? They are why I am a triple Trumper. Whoever is telling you this is very wrong. They have been trying to tell you how a large percentage of Americans see things. I was confident that you knew what you were doing, but this is truly scary. And then you see a bunch of other ones. Lost my support. What is wrong with you? You are so childish. People asking about the arrest. Where's the deep state arrest? Valid question. We're not getting those, by the way. I hope everyone knows that you're not getting deep state arrests. That's not happening. Like, They're too busy with foreign affairs in the Middle East. Deep state arrests? Keep dreaming. So this is what's happening. And what's important to point out here is this is the reason why this is happening, if you hadn't heard. People considered this a betrayal. And that's because, of course, the MAGA coalition, what was once a coalition, has become a cult. And one of the very definitions of a cult, of course, is you cannot criticize the leader ever. You must remain blindly loyal. And so for Alex Jones to have done what he did here, which I'm about to play for you guys to listen to, this is what set Trump off. And worse yet, Trump probably wasn't even aware of this. He was told about it, and I'm going to cover that in a second. But first, take a listen to this. It's a small clip. This is from Alex Jones the other day.
Existential threat. How do we 25th Amendment his ass?
The problem is to get the 25th Amendment is harder than impeachment. You have to get 2/3 of the House and 2/3 of the Senate.
So what do we do?
Tackle Trump and let him pretend he's president and publicly report that he's going through a health issue and Vance take over. It literally needs to be something like that. It's that bad.
I've known you a long time. You've never called for an internal coup before.
Ever. But that's how dangerous this is. That's how risky it is for the whole world.
Yeah, if I was the Democrats, I'd stop poking Trump and messing with him. That only makes it worse. Like, you guys need to watch out.
So he basically called for the 25th Amendment to be invoked on President Donald Trump to oust him out of office. It's a delusional call because obviously we didn't see it happen with Biden. We're not going to see it happen with Trump. But I understand Alex Jones's frustration. And then, of course, he's talking with somebody who said to tackle the president. So it is a little nutty. The show gets a little nutty at times. I freely admit that. But Alex Jones has been spot on and a day one supporter. Now, Trump very likely never even caught wind of this. He's isolated on Truth Social, and he is surrounded by sycophants in the White House as Susie Wiles ensures that he is gate-kept from anybody willing to tell him the truth. So there's no way, in my opinion, that Trump actually heard this or watches the Alex Jones show at all. In Alex Jones's own words, if I remember correctly, if my recall is right, Alex Jones spoke with Trump in like 2015 once. He met him, had dinner with him, I think, and that was the last time. That was the last time Trump had anything to do with Alex Jones, like personally. And so there's no way. But what's happening is Laura Loomer, who takes credit for this all of the time, has been like tattling on people. Like it's like Trump's the principal and you're in trouble. Like this is like some school setting. Excuse me, Mr. Trump, Mr. Principal, did you hear what Alex Jones said? Alex Jones, did you hear what he said about you today? He needs to be punished, mister. He needs to be punished, sir. That's what Laura Loomer's doing, and we know Trump is calling Laura Loomer pretty often. She's confirmed it, and Trump has sung her praises as well. No time for Marjorie Taylor Greene, a congresswoman, by the way, who did everything she could to support MAGA. He openly says, "Oh, I rejected Marjorie Taylor Greene's calls. They were wacky, and she's upset. I couldn't handle her phone calls. But I talk with Laura Loomer. She's so smart, so sexy. I love women that look like Jigsaw. Honestly, they're so hot. There's a spooky vibe to her." So Laura Loomer has told on people like Alex Jones, and that is what set Trump off today, without a doubt in my mind. That's what did it. And so that's what's happening. And Alex Jones, that's the reason why it's happening. He wants to invoke the 25th Amendment on Trump. It's not going to happen, but that's what he wants to do. I want to point this out, though. Here's a clip. This is an old clip that I found of Alex Jones supporting Trump over 10 years ago now, when most people still wouldn't. Alex Jones was the guy that gave Trump a chance and picked him over Ted Cruz, which was a hard decision to make for Jones and the least popular one he could have made at the time. Just take a listen to this. It's a short clip. It should make you feel sad.
I wrote a book called Crippled America. It's doing fantastic business. I don't know if you can see that thing right up there.
We can.
But it's doing great business. I hope your audience goes out and buys it as Christmas gifts and everything else. And I just want to finish by saying your reputation's amazing. I will not let you down. You will be very, very impressed, I hope. And I think we'll be speaking a lot, but you'll be looking at me in a year or 2 years. Let's give me a little bit of a time to run things. But a year into office, you'll be saying, wow, I remember that interview. He said he was going to do it, and he did a great job. You'll be very proud of our country.
Well, I'm impressed. I mean, you're saying you're fully committed. You know, there's no future if we don't take this country back. Donald Trump, I hope you can help uncripple America. Thank you so much, sir. You will be attacked for coming on, and we know you know that. Thank you.
Alex Jones had hair there, so that's how you know it was a long time ago. And the whole thing with that is Trump says he's got great credibility, a good reputation, singing his praises, right? And now you fast forward, and the moment Alex Jones gets critical. By the way, you want to know what the common denominator? There's a couple common denominators with Trump's statement today, but the ultimate common denominator is that very recently, all four of these people have been very critical of not just Israel, but of the Iran war altogether and the Middle East skirmish, excursion, whatever the fuck you want to call it now. They've been very critical of it, and at the expense of being critical of President Trump himself. And so, with a tattletale like Laura Loomer running around, telling Trump about all of this, no doubt he then goes and looks up some of it and confirms it for himself. Now we're getting the statement that we're getting. This is what it's all about. This is what it's all about right here. MAGA apparently considers the Epstein files a hoax. MAGA apparently doesn't care if Doge continues to exist and find waste, fraud, corruption, government bloat, etc. MAGA apparently doesn't care about mass deportations. Only the worst of the worst. That's good enough for us, I guess. If you're MAGA, that's good enough for you. You just want the worst of the worst. Get them out of the prisons, round them up from the prisons and deport them. That's good enough. Which, by the way, the insinuation of that happening, I've pointed this out on this channel as well, because logic, so many people are logic devoid. So real quick, I'm going to harp on that. The worst of the worst is the deportation strategy of this campaign. Understand what that means when you hear that the reports are they're waiting for them to be put in prison and then pulled out of the prisons to be deported. That means they've committed a violent crime on an American to get in that position. Just understand that. Just understand that. That's the deportation policy largely through and through. So that's what MAGA is about, apparently. MAGA is now, of course, about, Middle East wars, more foreign endless wars, forever wars. That's what MAGA is about. MAGA is about serving Israel's interest first at our expense. And MAGA is just unrecognizable, right? So this is what we're dealing with here. And Tucker, Megyn, Candace, and Alex, I've seen their clips. I've seen their clips online. I've seen them call this out. And that's why they've all been lumped up into this category now. Whoever's buying this, I don't even know what to say. Alex is a real one. It's honestly, it's a complete betrayal. It is really a complete betrayal. And if you somehow have made it to this point and you're still calling yourself MAGA and you're still supporting Trump and you're still thinking about voting Republican in the midterms, I don't know. I don't know what else. I don't know what else needs to be done for people to wake up at that point. I don't get it. I really don't get it. Like, there are people in here saying I'm being a panican. I'm actually speechless at this point. I want to go over some things here. You know, the mainstream news articles are now picking this up. It says, nut jobs, Trump goes scorched earth on Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson, and other major MAGA critics in jaw-dropping post. It says Trump has long feuded with Kelly, but only recently has his relationship with Tucker Carlson gone off the rails. This week, New York Times reported this week that Carlson was personally advising Trump not to go to war with Iran in recent weeks, but was eventually just ignored. Earlier in the week, as MAGA criticism of Trump escalated, Jones went so far as to ask one of his guests about removing Trump from office, saying, "How do we 25th Amendment his ass?" They're picking up on this because they're playing into the divide. So this is the worst position the GOP and Republicans could be in. And the worst part about it is, online, everyone is in complete denial. Well, not everyone. There's people like on this channel here. We understand what's happening. Anybody who's a subscriber on this channel knows what's happening. I've been talking about a MAGA fracture for how many months now? 8 months? 8 months. Other people much sooner than me. But they're just in denial. Oh, it's just the podcast bros, the doomers, they're just grifters. They're not even real. They're not even real. I want to point something out here, and I think this is an important statement for everyone to understand, no matter whether you agree with the podcast bros and the doomers and black pillars or not. Whether you agree is irrelevant. There is enough of a percentage of us out here that recognize what Trump is actually doing. We see the truth for what it is. We know a betrayal when we see it, and we're angry enough to allow Republicans to lose in midterms. They will lose without our support. It doesn't matter if it only turns out if they turn out to be correct and it only turns out there's about 15% of us that are outraged, if enough of us in the 15% category choose to stay home these midterms, or in some cases goes the Fuentes route that I see, can't get behind it entirely, call me a pussy if you want, vote Democrat, it's fucking over. The Republicans need all the support they can get, especially going into the midterms, and they don't deserve it. They haven't done anything. Nothing substantial, at least. I've sung Trump's praises on this channel. I've pointed out what he's done that's good. I like the tariffs. I loved Venezuela. I don't even so much mind the idea of Cuba and what we're hearing about Ecuador. I'm a big Monroe Doctrine guy. Monroe Doctrine. If only that was being observed right now, almost all these problems, we'd still be dealing with the Epstein issue, but we certainly wouldn't be dealing with the worst problem so far in this administration. I've talked about the Genius Act and how I think it's potentially a genius act. So I've sung his praises when he's deserved it. But ultimately, he's just made mistake after mistake after mistake. And you have to come to terms with the reality of the fact that these are not mistakes from the standpoint of him innocently making them. He knows full well what he's doing. I'm sick and tired of hearing these tropes about how he's being advised into these circumstances and deceived. It's people in his ear. Oh, if only we could get him away from the advisors. He has the final say. He's making the choices. The tweets today, or his True Socials, whatever you want to call them, the True Socials are the proof. We know for a fact he makes his own social media posts. Maybe not every single time, but oftentimes. Long-winded ones like today are no doubt him. There's no way that's a script writer. He makes these posts. He has the final say. He's the executive branch. It stops with him. It's still like you're in a fantasy world at this point if you're willing to acknowledge that there's something wrong, but then you want to like exonerate him still. It's everyone around him. It's all their fault. It's not. It's him. Ultimately, it's him. He's the one that we put into that position, and he's supposed to be there using his discretion to make the best choices for our country and for us. It literally is him. And the patterns now that we've seen in both the first and second term playing out, they prove that. This is the same shit from the first year. The excuse going into this year, and I did this in reverse, by the way. I'm a knucklehead, I'll freely admit it. I voted for Trump in 2024, but I held off voting for him in 2016 and in 2020. I didn't think he was serious enough. And then in 2024, I bought into the hype. The fate of our nation is on the line. If Kamala gets in, it's over. And I was like, oh, shit. I need to vote for Trump. I'm an idiot. Shit. My phone just fell. I'm an idiot. Let me get this back up. I am a moron. I shouldn't have fallen for it, and I did. And the bottom line is, if you're at that halfway point, but you're still wanting to buy into the delusion and the cope that it's the advisors that are the problem, you're still just recognizing without realizing it that Trump is the problem. The excuse was, well, in his first term, he didn't know any better. He didn't know enough good people. It's different now. He's smart. He's much smarter to the game. Look at this new administration and these cabinet members that he's rumored to be picking. This is so promising. How will he ever fail with people like Dan Bongino and Kristi Noem? She's so based from South Dakota? She's so based, Kristi Noem. Pete Hegseth, have you seen his tattoos? That guy's based. You don't get it. It's going to be different. Did you see J.D. Vance? It's nothing. It's going to be nothing like Mike Pence. And I'll tell you what, where's J.D. Vance right now in the war? He's just as quiet as Mike Pence was on January 6th. So is there a difference? The Attorney General, Pam Bondi, worst pick by far. We're getting no justice in this country. None. Thank God she's gone. But I got news for you. It's not going to be any different with the replacement. Either he leaves Todd Blanche in, a lifelong Democrat from New York who conveniently switched to Republican a year and a half ago, or we get, what's his name, Lee Zeldin? Lee Zeldin. I think that's his name, right? The Jewish guy who backs all of the anti-Israel domestically imposed sanctions act, or whatever it's called, where essentially if they can prove that you're deliberately not buying products that are made by corporations that support Israel or products that are made in Israel itself directly, if they can prove you're deliberately deliberately protesting that by not buying it, you're now possibly civilly guilty or criminally guilty, and you could be fined up to $1 million and face up to 20 years of imprisonment. Lee Zeldin introduced that legislation himself personally and supports it. He might be the new attorney general. I'm trying to get my phone back on the mount here. Once it falls off once, it's like it's fucked. All right. What's it gonna say? I gotta stop being so aggressive with my desk. I'm just really worked up right now. All right, I think we're good. Where's my moderator? What's going on? What's going on with this tax insurance guy? Hey, my commander at large, Glenn. He's the Border Patrol. Could you just deport tax insurance accessories, TIA? Just get them out of here. I don't have time for cattle today. I don't have time for the swine in my chat. Do you want them deported? Yeah, I'd consider that enough spam, in all honesty. I want them gone. I don't have time for 90 IQ cattle, Glenn. Get them out of here. Thank you, Glenn. Appreciate you. I very rarely ask for somebody to be deported out of my chat, but when somebody's just going, okay, we get it, you're an anti-Semite. I'm an anti-Zionist. Get it right, you fucking idiot. Half of the Jews in Israel don't even like Bibi. So no, I'm not anti-Semite. And by the way, learn the definition of Semitic and understand what that actually means. If you actually know what Semitic means, you'll understand that some Palestinians have a greater stake in the region than some of the Ashkenazi Jews do. Okay, I'm not anti-Palestinian, so I'm not anti-Semitic. It's a blanket statement, and people don't even know what it means. A lot of American Jews are against this war too, by the way. I support them being against it, so yeah, out you go. I don't have the patience for it today, and that is spam. He said it multiple times. My rule is free speech absolutist. I'm a free speech absolutist in the chat. Mock me all you want. Throw your ad hominems my way. Disagree with me all you want. Don't spam the chat. He spammed, and it's idiotic spam at that. The swine are useless. The cattle are fine. Get worked up in my chats. Get emotional. Talk in the chat all you want. No spam. Cattle are fine. Swine are not. Now, here's the deal. We're seeing the statements being made to respond to President Donald Trump and his bullshit-ass Truth Social post today. First and foremost, Marjorie Taylor Greene. I pulled up her response, and I just saw apparently Alex Jones has responded, so I'm going to react to that live right now. Marjorie Taylor Greene says, President Trump has gone mad as he wages war against Iran, a broken campaign promise, and it is. And stop saying that Trump was talking about Iran in 1987. For the love of God, we understand Iran can't have nukes. Trump campaigned and ran off of no new wars, no foreign wars. This was supposed to be our guy when it came to that and understanding what was actually happening. They have total control, he said, on stage famously. Without saying the word directly, the Israel lobby, he heavily implied that he understood what the problem was, all the way back in 2015. This was supposed to be our guy, and he campaigned on this. And then for people to say it's an excursion is an insult to our intellects. Anybody with critical thinking capabilities recognizes, again, the pattern of foreign wars. Oh, if it only lasts 6 weeks, it's not a war. What happens when we're back next year? Well, that won't be a war either. Okay, how about you start adding up the events that are occurring on a yearly basis and patch that together with a little bit of understanding of what the military-industrial complex is and what the greater Israel vision is, so you can create the full picture in your mind and finally understand what's actually happening. It is a forever war. And they trick idiots, literal 80 IQ plebs, into believing it's not because it only lasts for 6 weeks at a time. Shut the fuck up. People, dude, bro, shut up. Marjorie Taylor Greene continues on and says, I fought alongside Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, and Alex Jones to help get Trump elected. And now he goes off on a rambling rant attacking all of us in one post. We never changed. Trump did. America first. The truth. That is the truth. That is the truth, and if you can't recognize it, you are in a cult, you are a weak-minded fool, and you are useless to society, you're useless to the future of our politics, and you're a prime example, man or woman alike, of why the 19th Amendment needs to be repealed and why most people in this country should not vote. Most people, not even just women. I've said it before in context of women on this channel. I'm saying it now generally. There's a lot of idiot men in this country that shouldn't vote. You should have to have a stake in this country, land ownership, something on the line. Something on the line, coincidentally, where like people like Tucker Carlson have, who's now under an investigation for violating the FARA Act because he criticizes the war. Do you understand the narrative that's now sort of being formed here, possibly, potentially, and how dangerous this is? How is the right now? How is MAGA and the current GOP establishment distinguishable from the left? I just got called an anti-Semite in my chat, and I didn't even criticize Jewish people. Do you understand what that is? That's BLM 2.0. It's GOP BLM. Do you understand what it is when Tucker Carlson is being investigated for violating the FARA Act because he's critical of the Iran war? It's a limitation on free speech and expression, no different than what we voted against when it came to voting against the liberals, because we recognize they're the party of censorship. How is this any different? They're pushing in this direction. They're getting ready, in my opinion, to start pushing in that direction. Trump has threatened now treason charges on reporters who cover the war in a way he doesn't like. Alex Jones, you should have to have a stake in this country to vote like Alex Jones, who lost everything. Alex Jones is bankrupt. They've been threatening to take his show from him forever. They haven't done it yet. Maybe they'll do it now that they realize Trump's against them. Now, Trump might have been the last barrier for that. Alex Jones continually saying that he was waiting for the day they storm his studio and take his show from him. Trump might have been the last barrier there, the assumption that Trump wouldn't have allowed it. I think that's safe to assume. Trump doesn't give a shit anymore. So Alex Jones might even have more on the line now. All right, here's Alex Jones. I haven't heard this yet. It's long. I'll just react to a minute of it or something. You guys will be able to hear it. But this was Alex Jones. This was his response 2 hours ago. I just saw this pop up.
I just want to finish by saying your reputation's amazing. I will not let you down.
All right, we just reacted to that. That was back in 2015. Let me fast forward a little bit.
It will be very. I just want to
Stop listening to your never Trumper enemies. Thursday, April 9th, 2026. Just an hour or so ago, President Trump on Truth Social put out this long post, one of the longest, if not the longest I've ever seen, attacking myself, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Marjorie Taylor Greene, you name it, and just demonize the living hell out of us for challenging him, saying he would destroy an entire civilization in one night, never to come back, the definition of genocide. And he's told us Mark Levin is his brain. Mark Levin that wants nuclear strikes on Iran preemptively. Israel's calling for that. This is madness. And I was there 10 years ago supporting him against Ted Cruz. Yep. Nobody else really in Texas was. I was there when they Crossfire Hurricane coming up against him was the first to tell him about the illegal spying.
Yeah.
I was there when I got sued
true.
by Paul Weiss law firm.
Yes.
Yep. Fake show trial Sandy Hook garbage, the same law firm suing him.
Yep.
I was there.
Now, distinction with the Paul Weiss law firm, he didn't say it, but Paul Weiss, the Paul Weiss law firm officially sued Alex Jones over the Sandy Hook debacle, him calling it a hoax, and essentially bankrupted Alex Jones because he offended the feelings of the parents. When it came to Trump and his lawsuits during the Biden regime, it wasn't directly the Paul Weiss law firm, if I remember right. It was one of the lawyers who currently was associated with the Paul Weiss law firm, but not officially working on behalf of them. And nevertheless, when Trump got into office, he still did target the Paul Weiss law firm, and they settled out of court over it. So, yeah, these are the parallels and the lines that you can draw if you're actually educated on the matter and you actually know what's happening. It's called learning to read between the lines. It's called studying. It's called reading the news, but then critically thinking about it, analyzing it, confirming what's real and what isn't, reading in between the lines. People don't do this. They don't even know this stuff, which is why when Cat Turd retweeted my shit, all these boomer retards out there literally said, "You know nothing. Alex Jones was bankrupt because he lost his fortune over the Sandy Hook hoax allegations." If you believe that, you are a simpleton. If you believe that, you're probably someone who walked uphill both ways to school in a snowstorm every single day barefoot. I don't know what else to tell you.
And went through all of it with him. And I was so supportive of the last campaign and thought Doge was so amazing. And then Elon Musk left and said he's in the Epstein files. And everything started going sideways. Now he's given glyphosate protection, and the list goes on and on.
I didn't even cover the glyphosate protection. It's like he works against everybody in his administration. RFK, he's undermining everything at every step of the way, and it's all about money. It is truly all about money at this point. Hey, Bold as Lion, I see you in chat here. I said I was going to look at chat a long time ago, too, and I haven't yet. I appreciate all of you guys being here, though, seriously. I'll take a look at chat at some point, I promise. I missed a super chat, too. Hold on a second. Stop everything. Where's that super chat? Who gave that? Everything must stop when a super chat tariff comes in. I missed it, I think. Glenn, do you know who gave me a super chat? Was it Beck Fan, I think, actually? I think I remember seeing Beck Fan say it. Captain Coke 187. Also, Captain Coke, you must be new here. I don't recognize your name, but with a $2 super chat tariff, he says, I just want us to get along. What's coming is bad. Well, I agree, honestly. Even if you don't agree with everything I go on to say from here, I do agree with that. When it comes to the GOP, we need unification, but this party doesn't deserve it right now because there's a lot of people that are choosing to remain delusional about what's actually happening right now, and it is a generational problem, in all honesty. The generational gap between with millennials and Gen Z versus, in a lot of cases, Gen X, not always, and definitely with boomers for the most part, that is actually the issue. It's a societal issue right now. It's a generational issue, and that's really what's at play right now, really. We are in the fourth turning, and this is just what happens. Institutions that have been long-standing must burn down and be rebuilt to fit modern times, and that's what millennials and Gen Z is fighting for technically, but the boomers are massively overrepresented in power right now, and they're still holding on to their old ways, and their old ways are disastrous. Their old ways are literally borrowing against the economy that made them wealthy and doing so at our expense. And they want to go out and they want to finish their life off doing that. They are the greed generation. They coined the term greed is good. This is what they believe in. And so they care very little about the devastating impact foreign wars will have on our American economy, or for that matter, our image in the world, which I've covered at length on this channel, how this war has damaged our credibility from a military standpoint and our reputation from a global hegemony standpoint. But they don't care about that. Their lives are coming to an end. I talk with boomers all the time in person, and they just make the joke, just don't touch my Social Security. It makes me want to just speed run this embrace accelerationism and speed run to the end result of millennials and Gen Z taking over so that the boomers can watch as their second vacation homes are lost, and so that they're stripped from their Social Security entitlements, and so that they watch their Medicare evaporate. The same people, by the way, that say that they worked the hardest and earned everything they have and are telling millennials and Gen Z how to make money and do well in life are the same people that insist if you take away their Social Security, they'll die without it. They can't survive without that monthly check. These are the idiots that grew up in the greatest economy America perhaps has ever seen, have it better than their parents and their children, and somehow most of them are still poor retards who can't live without Social Security, which of course is working against our national debt and literally bleeding our country dry from an economic standpoint. It's at least one of the reasons why. And that's it. It's a generational gap, bottom line.
It's a true nightmare.
Yes.
But I support the old Donald Trump, not the new Donald Trump. But now his own wife today, unannounced, reportedly he didn't know, came out and said, I was never in a relationship with Epstein. We predict they were trying to blackmail Trump with fake rumors of that aren't true.
Yeah, it's so bad. Trump is so bad and so out of touch. He's so behind the eight ball on everything right now that his own wife is undermining him. He admitted that after Melania came out and spoke about the Epstein files, she's trying to distance herself from them, saying she was never a friend with Jeffrey, etc. Trump was asked about this, and he literally said he didn't even know Melania was going to do that. That's not a good image. That's not a good look. That's enough from Alex. That was his response, though. And, in all honesty, it's just, we're just at a point right now where the party is officially fractured. Now, Cat Turd retweeted me after I responded to his idiocy because Cat Turd posted a screenshot of Alex Jones. Alex Jones was saying, emergency message to the White House. The president is under the greatest witchcraft attack that anybody has ever seen. Every Christian inside the White House call for a fast. J.D. Vance, Susie Wiles, Caroline Leavitt, or anyone close to the United States throne of power must lead the nation in fasting and prayer to break President Trump free from Satan's chains. Listen, I don't buy into a lot of that stuff. I am a Protestant born-again Christian, so I do believe in the evil that is the incentive for people to be delusional enough to think they can practice witchcraft. But what Trump is under is not, he's not under any other spell other than literally Jewish Zionist influence and money, okay? That's what this is. And there's a stick element. I have a video that's not a live video on this channel where I explain what's at play here. It's both the carrot and the stick, and you have to understand that. The carrot's like the incentive to do what you're doing under threat of being hit by the stick. And you have to understand this, and that is where Epstein plays a part. You also know on this channel, I've predicted long-standingly so, and I'll freely admit if I'm wrong, if it ever comes out that I am, that Trump's not criminally implicated in the Epstein files. I stand by that. I've looked at the Epstein files that have been released. I've looked at the history of the dynamic between Jeffrey Epstein and Trump, and I don't believe he's criminally implicated. I just don't. I think that the history kind of points to that, in all honesty, but the dynamic between the two of them. But nevertheless, I think the problem is the Epstein files are still the stick because, in all honesty, so many people, likely within his administration, likely working in Congress and Senate and in our politics in general, and a lot of wealthy elite and oligarchs in this country are criminally implicated in the Epstein files, and they all know Trump. And so Trump feels like he has to protect them. I think that's what's happening. And that's the stick. And people don't understand this about Epstein, but that is what Epstein Island was, first and foremost. Don't lose the forest through the trees. Yes, depraved crap happened on that island. Nonsense, gross, disgusting shit with minors at times. It all happened, yes. But most importantly, Epstein Island was an operation. It was an intelligence operation. I'm almost positive of this at this point. You read the files and you listen to the language that Jeffrey Epstein adopts when he's talking about world affairs, global events, how he talks about things, the IDF sweater he's photographed wearing. It's without a doubt in my mind that Epstein was both Mossad and CIA, and possibly MI6 as well. And these intelligence agencies and communities, they do this. This is what they do. And that's what it was. It was made to put wealthy oligarchs, wealthy people, elites, politicians, future politicians in compromising positions with barely legal girls, sometimes underage girls, to photograph them, to use as the stick to do the bidding of the intelligence agency communities, and by default then, of course, by certain foreign governments that are constantly working against our best interests. So the stick is there, the incentive is then, and if you obey, here's the money. And that's what happens. And that's what's happening with Trump. Even if he's not himself criminally implicated, too many people are. Mike Johnson actually is on record even saying this. Mike Johnson literally has said that it's when the Epstein Files Transparency Act passed, Mike Johnson was trembling almost, and he said that there's a problem with this, and it's tragic because our institutions as we know it will collapse if the Epstein files are all released, which, by the way, is no doubt why we are still missing likely over 50% of them. And Todd Blanche is not going to be the guy that miraculously releases them now that Pam Bondi has been fired. And so all of that is to say that, in all honesty, it's not witchcraft. It's just the carrot and the stick with Trump. And it's a complete betrayal because Trump knows what he's doing and he doesn't care. And so Catturd posts that, and I respond to him. I respond to him posting Alex Jones' screenshot. Yeah, he's talking about witchcraft. I understand it. It's nutty to a lot of people. Halfway nutty to myself. But I respond and I say, because Catturd says, if you don't realize Alex Jones is a laughingstock clown after this tweet, there's no hope for you. And who the fuck is Catturd? He's a musician. He's a boomer musician who was on the Tucker Carlson podcast, and he's taken a couple of photos with Trump, and he insists that he's done everything for Trump. He insists that he supported Trump and bent over backwards for Trump to get elected, etc. What does he do? He posts boomer-coded memes on his X all day long. So I respond to him, I say, you mean the guy that sacrificed almost everything to get Trump into office originally? Where were you during those days? I don't recall you doing much of anything at all. All you do is tweet to grift. Alex Jones lost almost everything because of his actual real support for Trump. So Catturd, of course, retweets that, right? And he goes, case in point, or something like that. And this is just what we're dealing with right now. It's so ridiculous. Let me pull up the retweet. Did he delete it? Yeah, maybe he did. No, he didn't. There it is. He says, there it is, the dumbest tweet of 2026. Who wants to tell him? Well, here's the deal. Here's the deal with Cat Turd. I responded to it. I said, were you there on January 6th? Were you there to stop the steal? Has the left ever been so angry at you that you and your litter box movement that they debanked you and or bankrupted you? Ever been arrested for the movement, imprisoned? Ever given any financial contributions? Posting cutesy boomer memes doesn't count. The thing is, I've researched this. I can't find anywhere where Cat Turd has contributed anything to the Trump administration. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's contributed financially. I don't know. But Cat Turd's a nobody. And Cat Turd is he's the epitome. He's the maximum upper threshold of what is wrong currently with the GOP party. And that's where all the comments came in. They just kept coming in about Alex Jones and why he was sued for Sandy Hook. It's just such simpletons. Now, Alex Jones posted this in response to it as well, and he said, not mine, but he said this about this guy, Ross Bennett, the best take I've seen on Trump crashing out.
If you really love America, you should not love all your politicians, and actually you should probably dislike most of them. So for Trump to say that Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and Alex Jones are all just low IQ, and that's the reason that they're having this beef with him right now, when they helped to get him elected and tried to help 3 times to get him elected, is just, in my opinion, this is a low IQ take. This is a stupid take. He even says they had like failed careers and that's the reason that they started their own stuff. Bro, their own stuff is 2 to 3 times bigger, if not more, than anything they did when they worked for the mainstream system. I don't know who's whispering shit into this guy's ear, like freaking Grima Wormtongue from Lord of the Rings, but they're telling you wrong stuff, bro. Half of the people that I grew up with in this movement are not on Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin's team. Okay? We aren't neocons.
Ben Shapiro, by the way, is losing viewership at a monthly rate that is startling. He's down from an average of 180 million monthly viewers to 20 million to 30 million monthly viewers at most. And he's hemorrhaging subscribers as well. Reports coming in that he's losing anywhere between 1,400 to 10,000 subscribers per week. Mark Levin is a nobody. He was a radio show host that fizzled out into nothing. And he's got a super late night Fox show now. It's like Saturday at midnight or some nonsense. Nobody's watching these people. And Trump's trying to put us onto them. These are the faces of MAGA now. It's time to accept how bad it's gotten. And worse yet, the fracture. I want to talk about this. I've been meaning to address this on the stream for a while now when it comes to the GOP. You have to understand, we're dealing in a midterm year now. I'm already staying my ass home. I'm not voting Republican. I'm not voting for any of this. The Republican Party, if there's one thing I can't tolerate, I can't stand, it's actually weakness. And this Republican Party, aside from Trump, let alone with him, has proven at this point that it is incapable and completely incompetent. They've proven that they actually despise power and they are clueless on how to use it, and that inherently makes them weak. And I won't support weakness. I want weakness to be punished, actually. So when it comes to midterms, I'm staying my ass home. I'm not voting for Republican at all. And I'm very tempted after a day like today to vote Democrat, actually, and go the full scorched earth Fuentes approach. Morally, I have some inhibitions with that still, and it is what it is. Some people can just be more of an edgelord than I can at the end of the day, and voting Democrat is just, it's more edgelordish than perhaps I'm willing to go, but days like today really, really tempt me. But the Republicans deserve to be punished. They've gotten almost nothing done, and the legislation that they're trying to pass works against our best interests, or in the best case scenario, is full of pork and bloat and half-assed measures like the big beautiful bill. They've done nothing. Congress has done nothing. The Senate has done nothing. And Trump is doing the opposite of what we want. This is how messed up it all is. And it reflects on these polling numbers. This is what I wanted to discuss. We're in springtime now. It's sunny out. Believe it or not, I'm an optimist in nature. I do actually wake up in a great mood every morning. I kid you not. The sun's out now. It's spring. It's warm out. There's rainy days and such. I'm in a good mood overall. So I want to view things differently, but this is the reality of it. a Fox News poll shows that 64% of Americans disapprove with Trump's performance on Iran. But it's even worse than that. Overall, Trump's approval rating as of the time of this poll, which was just about not even 2 weeks ago, 41% approval rating, 59% disapprove. With inflation, only 28% approve, and rightfully so. Our economy is going to be getting worse over the next few months at the very least, and that's if this Iran war ends. We're going to be feeling the effects economically of this excursion in the Middle East now for months leading up to the midterms. And inflation is going to be a part of it because gas got so expensive. Oil futures, by the way, real quick, they're already heading back up when I checked this morning. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that Israel decides to bomb South Lebanon despite there being a ceasefire in effect. Yeah, oil futures are back up to $90. Anyways, the economy, only 34% approve. This is a Fox News poll, by the way. Only 34% approve of his job on the economy, only 38% on foreign policy. Fox News, this is boomerland. And they can't even pull out a good poll then. Worse yet, since last year, Trump's approval rating amongst the youth, which Trump did historically well in comparison to other GOP candidates in the past, Trump is down 53 points among likely youth voters in the age 18 to 29 bracket, which I'm beyond that threshold now. I am starting to age. But he's down 53 with them, according to Qantas Insights. And I've been paying attention to special elections. The special elections have been overall a catastrophe and a disaster for the GOP. The Democrats are overperforming in the vast majority of special elections. And there's this misnomer that special elections are not reflective of the midterm elections or of primary elections, but they are. There was 1 year where we saw the special elections in recent memory. The special elections did not predict accurately or show a pattern leading up to an election. And that was the 2024 election because, yeah, Trump definitively won that, and people were not predicting it. Special elections historically are something you can always look at and use them to at least generally point to the performance that you can expect in an upcoming main election or midterm election. And there's several examples of Democrats performing much better than expected. September 23rd, 2025 in Arizona, a Democrat won a position in Arizona with a 13-point overperformance. Virginia, September 9th, 2025, Democrat held it with a 16-point overperformance. Texas, November 4th, 2025, Democrat held their position with a 5-point overperformance. Arizona, again, March 3rd of this year, a Democrat flipped a seat in Arizona with a 17-point overperformance. Florida, Mar-a-Lago, people have been talking about this. Trump's actual residential county, Mar-a-Lago, was flipped by a Democrat with a 10-point overperformance just back on March 24th of this year. And same with Texas, a Democrat won recently with a 26-point overperformance. There are dozens of seats. I won't even spend the time going over them. We're talking about dozens of special election Democrat overperformances occurring all throughout last year and into this year so far. Some Republicans are winning, and even in those cases, the Republicans tend to be underperforming. And this is because the movement has been fractured. It's been completely eroded away, by the way. And that's the point I'm trying to make here. The overperformances are brutal. I also want to pull this up. Trump's approval rating amongst the differences in demographics. So men overall, as a blanket statement, back in March of 2025, Trump was in office for 2 years. I created this channel last year in March of 2025. March 10th was the first date I posted on this channel. I was loving what Trump was doing, and I created this channel to celebrate it, believe it or not, and to point out fake news errors that were speaking out against Trump and the movement. That's the origin story of this channel. March 2025, Trump had a 54% approval with men, overall men, of all demographics and races. Now, April 2026, he's underwater at 45%. So he's down almost 10 points. He's down 9 points with men in just over a year. Non-college white men, the demographic Trump claims to love the most. He was at a 59% approval, according to the poll I saw back in March of 2025, down to 52% in April of this year. And some polls I saw had him underwater at 46%. but we'll go with 52%. It seems to be the most accurate and fair one. Down 7 points. Independence. This is something to understand. With independence, people don't get what MAGA started off as. And so I go online and I post my criticisms and I say Trump has dropped the ball with Epstein. He's dropping the ball with the foreign wars. He's dropping the ball with Doge. He's dropping the ball with all of his agendas. Mass deportations, not happening. He's dropping the ball with immigration. And immigration domestically, make no mistake about it, immigration domestically is perhaps our biggest issue, if not getting big money out of politics taking the cake on it. Those are the two biggest issues. Get big money, get foreign lobbies, APAC, etc. Get it out of our politics. That probably is the biggest issue. But immigration is a close second, a hair away from taking it. Immigration is not happening. And what you have to understand is mass deportations was popular with the majority of Americans when Trump took office, including some Democrats and a large portion of independents. And what MAGA started off as in 2014, 2015, when it was announced Trump would run, and MAGA started becoming the lingo, make America great again. MAGA formed as a coalition of independents, moderates, and Republicans who were sick of neocons, and then some Democrats, especially what we saw last in 2024, some Democrats even joined in and hopped in. We saw them take the stage, Tulsi Gabbard and RFK, sick of liberal progressivism. So MAGA was supposed to be the antidote. MAGA was supposed to be this coalition of people who are sick and tired of both sides and want something that's truly conservative and America first and better for us. So independents in March of 2025 were at a 41% approval with Trump. Underwater, but not terribly so. Now in April of 2026, it's at 28%. And independents are perhaps one of the most important voter blocks, demographics. They're not a demographic technically, I don't think. They're a voter block. They're important. They made up a large portion of MAGA. And he's down. What is that? That is 13 points down in over a year. Black voters. Trump did historically pretty good with black voters. 28% approval in March of 2025. It's 18% now, down 10 points. Latinos loved Trump. This was undeniable. 44% approval in March of 2025. That's unheard of for a Republican. Now it's 32% this month. So down again 12 points. And this reporting is from by the way, these numbers, they're coming from a pretty tame pollster, not a very far left liberal pollster. So Republican, from what I've been told too, according to the research I did, what I watched, a lot of what's happening with these polls are being confirmed by private Republican polling as well, which of course is private. They'll never admit it. Trump wants you to believe the CNN report that basically says it's 100% satisfaction with MAGA. And then in the same Truth Social post where he's bragging about that and putting down Tucker, Candace, Megyn, and Alex, he then goes on to call CNN fake news. The irony, the loophole in logic, the lapse in logic, it's just unreal. But this is what's currently happening. MAGA is fractured now, and it is time. It is time for a greater movement to exist and emerge. Because truthfully, I don't think Trump wants MAGA to continue on without him. I do genuinely believe that in some way, shape, or form, perhaps it's on a subconscious level that will be unspoken of. I think Trump, to some degree, actually kind of relishes the idea of everything falling apart without him. And that can't happen. And what we need to occur for that to be prevented at this point is we need all the Republicans that are currently in power and are failing us, we need them to be politically punished, which of course means they need to lose power. So don't toe the party line anymore. It's time to move beyond that. And America first, whatever that movement is, because the trick now is America first, especially we'll see it in 2026, we'll see it heavily in 2028 when MAGA officially comes to an end. Whatever MAGA has turned into, MAGA will come to an end in 2028 without Trump. It can't exist without him. And politicians are recognizing this already. So now Democrats and rhinos and neocons are all grifting to this America First movement. Everybody I see now has America First put in their bio. So distinguishing what America First really is and who really is a part of it is going to get harder to do over time. But nevertheless, some real movement that is America First must rise up from this and start taking action now. We must take action now. Talking about it like I do here is not good enough. Talking about it like Alex Jones has done since 1997 is not good enough. Talking about it is what they laugh at people who talk about it. And protesting won't solve anything either. I said that 2 weeks ago. Some liberal was in my chat talking about protesting Trump, how we should all protest Trump and take part in No King's Day. Are you serious? I called him out on the spot. This was 2 weeks ago. This is a reminder. Protesting does nothing. It's laughable. It's embarrassing, actually. Protesting is embarrassing. When you read about what a protest was at the founding of this country, you are embarrassed at what protesting is now. So no, buying your dollar store sign with your dollar store Sharpie and writing No Kings on it does absolutely nothing. You're not magically on the right side of history. Nobody's paying attention to you, and that's actually a good thing. Because I guarantee you the last thing you would want is for a still image photo of you holding a retarded No Kings dollar store sign up in the air while you're dancing around to whatever music of choice that day and waving some sort of Mexican flag. That's the last thing you want saved in our history books anyway. It's embarrassing, and everybody needs to stop with that. They don't care about protests. The only protest they would possibly care about is if a huge, undeniably large crowd wound up outside Washington, D.C., and all the airwaves started covering it. That might be the exception to the rule of protesting being retarded and gay and stupid, because that would make some sort of a statement that would have to be addressed. But guess what? It's not going to happen at the right size, because America is so much different now than it was 200 years ago. 200 years ago, we were a nation of settlers and farmers. And so when something went wrong, you had your seeds planted, your plants were growing, you had ranch hands that could take care of shit for you. And if you didn't like what your government was doing, you loaded up your rifle on your covered wagon and you started traveling down to the Capitol. And at certain points in time, the Capitol wasn't even Washington, D.C. And you started marching down to the Capitol, and collectively, you raised hell and you made your presence felt. Americans can't do that anymore, or they certainly won't do it anymore. So protesting is stupid. All that to say, it's stupid. What we really need is to get a group of people together that will rise up and seize political power. And you do that, I don't mean violently, you do that by running for office. You have to get involved. We have to get involved. Look to James Fishback, and if you're a liberal and you think he's an extreme nutjob too, excuse me, and you think he's an extreme nutjob too, then please at least look at him objectively and understand the man started his campaign with $950 in his pocket, and he's now second in the polls in Florida for governor, trailing under Byron, not even by that much in a lot of polls. And with the youth, he's crushing Byron Donalds in the polls. So it can be done without big money. And we need a lot more of that in this country. We need people, because talking about it solves nothing. I could do this 12 hours a day. I could build a huge crowd. If I can't rally people to the cause, if I can't myself get out there and take power to then use that power to create the country that I want or save the country that I love, then it means nothing, and they know it. So they allow us to talk about it. Freedom of speech is a problem only potentially. But if all you ever do is talk, then nothing happens. Because money and the carrot, that's the influence here. And it's so above your pay grade, it's so above any echelon that you can ever hope to reach by just bitching and moaning all day long about this shit. It has to happen. I'm certainly going to keep talking about it on my channel. I get paid to talk about it, so I'm going to. And I'm going to because I believe the truth needs to be put out there. And the more you talk about it, the Bible says the truth is written on our hearts. I believe the more you talk about it, the more people you potentially wake up. But if all people ever do is wake up and then start talking about it with you, and you sit around in a cutesy little sewing circle, and you bitch and moan all day and complain about how the government doesn't represent you, but then you return to your regular 9-to-5 goy-ass job and pay your taxes to a government that doesn't represent you, if that's all you ever do, I'm not saying don't pay your taxes, I'm not saying don't go to work, do those things, but if that's all you ever do, and then on the side you talk about how bad it is, it goes nowhere. Nothing happens. And then worse yet, you toe the party line still. And you vote Republican no matter what. These people are not owed your vote. Republicans are not owed your vote. It's actually the opposite of what was intended when it comes to our constitutional republic or democracy, whatever you even want to call it. I don't even believe it exists in that form anymore anyway. But that's not the whole point anyway. A vote is supposed to be literally earned, not given. You don't owe them your vote. And then you say the alternative is a Democrat and that's worse, and I agree, but what does it even matter? I've made this analogy before. We're a car on a highway, America, and we're heading to destruction, and it's visible, and we can see it. And what happens is a Democrat gets in that car. We're in the back seat along for the ride. A Democrat gets in that car and floors it 150 miles an hour, frying the piston rings in the engine, everything, floored it, 150 miles an hour. We lose our minds. We go, oh my God, we need to vote a Republican in. We got to get a Republican driver. And so thankfully we're spared of the fate. We're not at the destruction at the end of the highway. A Republican gets in. A Republican starts driving, and we say, thank God, wow. We were about to hit this doom and despair and agony and destruction. Our country was about to be destroyed. And the Republican goes, I know. And then you say, so when you make a U-turn, the Republican looks back at you and says, oh, I'm not making a U-turn. I'm just doing the speed limit though, so don't worry about it. We're not going 150 miles an hour anymore. I'm doing the speed limit. We won't get there because I'm doing the speed limit. Okay? That's the difference at this point. That's it. And it does look different, by the way. The road to destruction from the Democrats and the road to destruction from the Republicans is different. The Democrats will ruin us domestically with immigration, censorship, but the Republicans will ruin us in the name of foreign affairs. The Republicans are the ones that want to sell all of our shit overseas. They already did it. George H.W. Bush did it. Reagan started doing it. Bush Jr. upheld the tradition. Mitt Romney certainly would have kept going with it. John McCain. So they want to sell our shit overseas, and they want to ruin us by supporting any country other than ours. And then it's the Democrats that want to ruin us with immigration and domestic shit. So you lose either way is the point. You literally lose either way. Just because things domestically get marginally better sometimes, not even in this case, by the way, everything's more expensive literally, some golden age. But just because under some Republicans, they're a little bit more fiscally responsible and they give the appearance of a better economy. And in some cases, they make the economy temporarily better. Doesn't mean that we're going in any sort of a different direction when it comes to this nation and where our politicians are steering us. They're just on they're in slightly different lanes on the same highway, championing different paths of destruction. All right, let me calm down a little bit. Wait, Glenn, how many people are you banning now? Hold on a second. Only the spammers, though, Glenn. Only the spammers. Let me see. Anybody saying anything good? So you say till the electricity goes out and then you just go crazy? What? I love our land and our home, but I hate our government. Yeah, I agree, Bold. Jack the Ripper 5270 says, liberals saying Trump is senile is rich. I'm not a liberal. You have to ask... I'm literally socially and fiscally... I am so socially and fiscally conservative that I've turned off conservatives on this channel from my extreme stances on stuff like immigration. Okay? You will hear it here proudly that I believe 93-year-old abuela grandma illegal immigrants should literally be shackled and deported out of this country. Because it's a problem. It's not even personal. It's a problem. So I'm a social and fiscal conservative as big as it gets, actually. So I'm not a liberal. And is Trump senile? I don't even know. I don't know if I'm willing to actually buy into Trump being senile. I think Trump is actually pretty well aware of what he's doing at this point. And that's actually almost worse. What kind of country do I want, Rumpelstiltskin? I want a country where the young generations are prioritized because they're the future of the country. So I want a country where a young generation like Gen Z now, because millennials missed their window. It's too late for me. I'm close to Gen Z in age, actually. I'm on the line somewhat, but I am definitively a millennial. And we missed our window. The housing market crisis hit. A lot of millennials, I was too young still to be entering the world, but a lot of millennials were turning 18 in 2008. Ain't that but a bitch? So I want a country where the young generations are prioritized. I want a country that is ran with young generations in mind, not old ones who are dying anyway. And that's what we're dealing with right now. We're dealing with a country that is ran by greedy, corrupt boomers, and in some cases, Gen Xers. And then any of the millennials that have found themselves in positions of representation so far are also pretty bad. Let's just be honest. I'm excited for the fact that millennials are starting to take power, and that means good ones will get in with a fresh perspective. But most of the millennials currently in right now are all terrible too. I covered Lauren Boebert. She at least has a good stance on the war. But yeah, I want a country, though, where houses are affordable, actually affordable. I want a country where the economy is actually good and where the politicians actually focus on what the economy is supposed to be. And no, it's not actually the stock market, believe it or not. I want a country that embraces the Monroe Doctrine as foreign policy, meaning we focus on north to south possible expansion, but if not total control at the very least, when it comes to our Western Hemisphere, recognizing that the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean are a blessing to us and a justifiable reason to stay out of foreign affairs in the Eastern Hemisphere. You know, the part of the globe that's called the Old World. The old world, the outdated old world. Why would we want to be involved with that? And the answer is obvious, of course. It's the military-industrial complex and money. But logically and objectively, as a leader, why would you take a country like America and say, you know what we need more of? Foreign influence and involvement. We need to send our soldiers over to that part of the world that is chaotic. It's been filled with death historically. It's rather unevolved altogether. And even in the western part of the world, countries that are there, Europe and Britain, they're freely just handing that over to immigrants now at an even more disastrous rate than we are. But that side of the world is cursed, and it should be viewed as such. If not anything at all, at least the Middle East should be looked at as cursed, because biblically we're promised that it will remain cursed until the end times. So that's what I want. I want a leader who recognizes the actual problems with our economy from a young perspective, which means, of course, we cannot keep electing boomers into office. We cannot even elect most Gen Xers into office. We need to deliberately age discriminate against our politicians. If they're over the age of 60, it's a no. No more voting for these people. They're out of touch and they have no idea. They have no idea how to run a country anymore in the modern day. They think all AI is a good thing. We need AI regulations. We need the housing market to be more affordable. They don't get this. First of all, it's actually against their interest. They believe technology is good. They don't understand it. And they think the housing market, they like that it goes up. It benefits them. We need young people to rise up and understand that foreign lobbies are ruining our politics. It's already ruined it. But that's what we need. We need a total cleansing of the American political system, and it needs to be replaced with young, fresh minds. I'm talking the bare minimum age to run. We need the demographic that is Gen Z and millennials, and we need to discard the idiotic, moronic, self-destructive, greedy boomer generation. They need to be done away with. They are useless to us, and in actuality, they're a detriment to us in every single step of the way. Every facet of our current country, the boomers are a detriment. They're sucking away Social Security and Medicare. They're voting for idiot neocons. They're praising the war in the Middle East that's draining our economy. They're buying up houses. Boomers own 2 houses, and millennials and Gen Z can't even own 1. Do you understand that? They don't believe in our politics anymore, and they already ruined our country. We need to bring back manufacturing in this country. We need to fix our supply chain. And I don't care that people say it's a 10 to 15 or 20 year process and it's hopeless. We try anyway. We try anyway to fix our manufacturing and our supply chains. We need to self-sustain. And while we're self-sustaining, we need the Monroe Doctrine. Get out of that old world. We can keep trade. We need trade. I agree with keeping trade. But we need to get out of that Eastern Hemisphere altogether. And the reason why a lot of these countries hate us, by the way, not that I've ever cared that much about how they view us, but if you ever want to know why they hate us, it's because we're not observing the Monroe Doctrine. It's because we're constantly meddling in their affairs. And then on top of it, we're a doormat to them, which is even more insulting. They don't really even have a right to insult us or grandstand against us. We give them money and subsidize their economies and their military for them. That's the worst part about it. No more foreign aid collectively. No more aid to Israel. No more aid to the Ukraine. Because of aid to Ukraine, we've actually seen what that does. Now our armaments are depleted more than we would have liked going into this useless, stupid fucking war. We go into Iran and we hear, well, our high grade armament stockpiles are not nearly as loaded up as we would have liked. You come to find out why the reason that is. Well, could it be because we gave hundreds of millions of dollars to Ukraine and we gave them our stockpile, our ammunition stockpiles and armaments? We gave them our weapons? No more of that. That literally works against our best interest. And even though I completely, obviously, vehemently disagree with the Middle East war currently, we are seeing the effects of what giving all of that shit to Ukraine, a country that does fuck all for us. I literally don't care if Russia absorbs all of Ukraine. Let Russia and Europe fight it out for all I care. I don't care. Ukraine has done nothing for me. It's done nothing for our country. Nothing. They're a pestilence, and they're a leech, and so is Israel. Nothing to do with them. So that's what I want, I guess. I didn't organize that all linearly for you. Maybe I could write it down one day, I guess. But maybe you get the picture at this point of what I want. And that's the generation gap that I started talking about at the beginning of the stream and how it's being highlighted more and more, especially by Trump Truth Social posts today. There is a very, very big difference right now between most millennials and almost all Gen Zers that I talk to at least, and what the old boomer generation wants. And it doesn't make sense to cater to boomers at all. They're dying. They're dying. You can expect less of them to be voting in future elections as a result of that. But millennials and Gen Z are going nowhere. Not soon, anyway. We're going to be around for 40 years plus. And we're going to be the ones controlling election outcomes with our votes. So it doesn't even make sense to not cater to us. But somehow we're in that position right now where we're not being catered to. And then the ultimate slap in the face is that we have to now deal with Trump say, this is a golden age. America is the hottest country in the world. Are we? We can't even defeat Iran. We can't even open the Strait of Hormuz. We're being played. We're being played by Iran. I covered that yesterday. They're using the Strait of Hormuz as leverage, and they're playing Trump like a fiddle, which is actually a good thing in some sense. They're forcing Trump to take a position now on Israel if he actually wants peace. We're not in a golden age, unless you're a boomer or you're an Israeli nationalist. I don't care about Ukraine either, says Agus. Yeah, good. You shouldn't. They do nothing for us. Millennials, don't they complain about their 9 to 5 or their 9 to 5 or their part-time job and then wonder why they're not making it, meanwhile holding a $1,000 iPhone and have multiple subscriptions? Oh, surely, Agus, you've got to be rage bait. I actually should just start ignoring you. I think you're actually rage bait at this point. Boomers also work from day and night. Yeah, you're definitely rage. I'm going to take you from now on in a satirical light. Have I been outside the country? Aaron Lander. Yes, I have. And I probably never will go outside the country again, though. But yes, I have been outside the country. I've seen the shitholes that are not the United States. But I'll probably never travel outside the country again. I love America, and America is in shambles, and it needs our full support. There's no reason for me to ever travel outside the country again. But I've been outside the country multiple times. It is too late for that now, says Africane. I'm not sure what you're referring to, but there's no reason to ever take the doomer pill or black pill entirely. If anything, we go out fighting then. I'm not going to get on my hands and knees and surrender. That's actually anti-American. What happens when you get old, says Roger CV. I don't know. Robert Stutters 2020. I like what you're saying. Thank you, Robert. Yeah, please be sure to subscribe to American Advocates if you haven't already. If that message resonates with you, you're the kind of subscriber I want on this channel. because we got to do something about this. So be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and like the stream if you haven't already. You can do that by double tapping your phone screen or finding the thumbs up button. Term limits, age limits, but we also need an IQ test as well as a civics test for public office. Yeah, I think I can get behind that. I am a boomer, and I agree with you. Thank you, John Plummer. I appreciate that. We have some good boomers too, and you know the thing is, I've said this before for my other dedicated boomer who frequently gives me super chats, so I definitely won't talk poorly about him. Howard Clegg. He's also he's more of a lurker than a chatter, so he might even be watching right now. But you know, Howard Clegg's another good resident boomer on this channel. My parents are examples. They're very out of touch in all honesty, and they have idiotic takes on Israel still to some degree. They're actually starting to come around. They still have the typical boomer takes, but they're conservative, and it's not to single out any one boomer and say you're a scumbag, a dirtbag, etc. But what it really truly is collectively generations will always be labeled as something, and they'll always be known for a certain few things when it comes to societal and cultural changes. And so collectively, the boomers must be held accountable for what they're known for, which is sexual liberation, destructive individualism at the worst scale. They're known for feminism. They're known for liberalism. They're known for borrowing against our healthy, thriving economy to benefit themselves in the short run, knowing that it would catch up to our generation, the millennials, and fuck us over, and they did it anyway. They're known for ruining the housing market. That happened under Bill Clinton. In fact, many say that Bill Clinton was the first example of a boomer president in office, because you had Reagan and H.W. Bush that were really old. They were not boomers. They were even older. But Clinton was like the first boomer in office, and what does he do? He fucks up the housing market that we see on a 10-year plus delay, of course, but he ushers in the subprime loans. You can't discriminate against low credit score buyers. You should be selling in all of the ghettos homes, and then he promises the banks basically endless money from Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. That, of course, the perfect timing of that. When do we see the housing market crash? It crashes as a result of subprime loans, Bill Clinton, and it does so 10 years pretty much after he's out of office, just as the bulk of millennials are starting to enter the world. So they're known for that. They're known for everything bad, okay? Everything that's wrong, pretty much, with our country right now happened under boomers' watch. Our country was sold overseas in the 80s and 90s. That happened under boomers' watch. They voted for the politicians that did it, and worse yet, they champion them to this day. How many boomers do you know that worship Reagan and won't, at the very least, won't speak poorly about H.W. Bush? I've had boomers tell me that H.W. Bush deserved a second term and that he was robbed of an election from Bill Clinton. Give me a break. So collectively, they share responsibility. And I've said this before, the analogy of the parallel of this will be in the future, Zohran Mamdani, that will be pinned on millennials. It'll widely be pinned on millennials 20 years from now when New York City is a hellhole. It'll be millennials that have, I don't live there. I couldn't have voted for Zohran. But I as a millennial, my generation will be blamed for Zohran Mamdani becoming mayor of New York City. It's just how it works. It's just what it is. APAC and lobbying needs need to be illegal, and age and term limits. Absolutely bold. John Plummer says, consensus pragmatism, solving problems together for the good of the nation, accumulating facts, casting out non-truths, and get feelings out of politics. It's a tough ask. We need the right people running. I believe in Gen Z, truly. I do. I believe in a lot of millennials too, but I believe even more so. I believe even more so in Gen Z. We just need money out of our politics. That's it, says MF Ty 8DW. That's not it, but that's a huge problem for sure. A lot would change if we could accomplish that. It should be grassroots, though, and I do agree with that sentiment. It should be grassroots. You shouldn't need $1 million minimum to launch a campaign for any major form of office in this country. That shouldn't be a thing. That is outrageous. And it literally does bar the good people from running. Truly, it does. Earlier super chat from me, Trump is basically just King Lear. I knew I saw a super chat from you, Beck fan. Thank you for it, too. I appreciate you. Ali Cat says, so U.S. politics should be led by religion, dude. If more Christians were in office right now, I do believe and the right kind of Christians, not evangelical nut jobs. But if we had some based Protestant or Catholic, I'd settle for, as a Protestant. In some ways, I would settle for Catholics. I don't like that they're big on globalism. I think that's a big problem with Catholics. But in some ways, I would settle for Catholics. And certainly, yes, we need some Christian leaders in this country again. Absolutely, we do. Because you know why? You know what the problem is with Trump? He's not an ideologue. He's a populist. He has no convictions, so he never sticks to anything, ever. That's why everything's half-assed. Greenland was half-assed. Epstein release, half-assed. This Iran war even is half-assed, you could argue. All of it's half-assed. Everything he's done. Doge was extremely half-assed. It didn't even last halfway through, I'd argue. Immigration, half-assed. Mass deportations are done. It's all half-assed. Because Trump's not an ideologue. He's not religious. So he has no real convictions. And that's why I said at the beginning of the stream, he's the problem. Because he has no convictions. He's a populist. As soon as he senses something's not popular, he switches the stance immediately. Or pretty close to immediately. But if you got people in office that were actually ideologues and subscribed to a religion that is responsible, Christianity is responsible for our laws in this country predominantly. The Ten Commandments. Our founding fathers were predominantly Christian. And there were a few deists. And then you understand when you Google when you understand what the word deist meant back then, you understand that they still believed in God too, actually, it turns out. Eight of the original colony states had state-declared religions in their state constitutions, actually. So you understand that, though, of course, our Constitution prohibits a federally declared religion, which, of course, is in place because of where the Founding Fathers and settlers came from, witnessing what happens when a tyrannical church takes control of the government, and you must worship that denomination. They understood how much of a problem that could be. But when you know the actual history of America, actual American history, you understand that, yes, if more Christians... By the way, those 8 states of the original 13 that had state-declared religions, some of them went so far as to impose literal laws that you couldn't even run for office if you weren't actually that declared religion. So at one point in time in American history, yes, I would say the vast majority of our politicians were Christian, and I'd even argue with you beyond that the reason why our country is currently in what we would call a constitutional crisis is because most of our politicians are either phony Christians or not Christian at all, and the Constitution was written with that in mind. It was written with Christianity in mind. Not to be a federally declared religion, but in mind, Christian ethics and morality in mind. And when you have as many people as you have currently who don't subscribe to any of that, they exploit the Constitution for the morality and the framework that it was written in. Those are the constraints of the Constitution, and they're being exploited now by amoral people. That's actually the biggest problem, in my opinion. One of them, at least. And so, yes, politics that should be led by religion, I see no problem with that whatsoever. Oh, Howard Clegg is in here. What? Hey, Howard. He says Trump moved away from Monroe. Foolish. I agree, man. See, that's what I'm talking about. There are cool boomers in here. Howard's one of them. He gets it. He knows. A lot of people know. What policy do you want for young people? Well, I already explained that, Lorenzo, so I'm going to scroll back up now. Stop everything, actually. $2 super chat tariff from Tim Rolla, 3166. Says nothing, just donates $2. Thank you, man. I know this guy, Tim, he's a new one, too. You're definitely new, but I appreciate you. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already to American Advocates. Feminism is diabolical, says Jack the Ripper. I agree. Curious George, 5992, says the weights. Swamp draining. Yeah, the swamp's not drained. There are no deep state arrests. Trump did not even half-ass deep state arrests. And reportedly, he was mad at Pam Bondi for not getting that underway. But this still falls under the Trump administration, and the deep state arrests are not happening. They're not even happening at all. So, average male feminist, who? Who are you talking about? Underboss? Christian nationalist tells me so? We should have government servers for elections instead of fundraising and commercials. Yeah, well, and that's part of the problem. And AIPAC plays their part And that's how you always hear the argument of, well, it's a $5,000 maximum donation to the campaign, right? So it's not really that influential. It's so disingenuous. AIPAC works with super PACs that are also representative of the Israel lobby, and those super PACs contribute millions of dollars in contributions to the politicians that they pick, that they deem best worthy to represent their interests. And then that's what they do. They can't donate that money technically directly to the pockets of the candidate, so they spend it on ad campaigns and travel costs and whatever else. It's like this. It's a crazy loophole, and JFK knew it. JFK knew it. Trump knew it too, by the way. Trump talked about the super PACs and how they were going to be a problem. That's why this is such a betrayal. Everything about Trump, specifically this past year and a half now, has been a complete betrayal. Chris Miller 7593 says Nick Fuentes was right the whole time. Yeah, I didn't even know who Nick Fuentes was when I created this channel last March. And then I saw something in the news about him. I think this was probably around, was it October? And I saw something in the news, so I wound up looking him up on X, and I saw a clip. I watched one clip, and I said, wow, I really agree with everything he just said. What's so controversial about this guy? And then I was like told on various different social medias that I need to be careful. They were like, you can't talk about him. I was like, oh, okay. So I kind of avoided him actually, even beyond watching that clip. But I was like, in the back of my mind, I kept thinking, I don't really see anything too wrong with that guy. Then he does the Tucker Carlson podcast, and I watch it completely while I'm working. I was working on one of my businesses. And I was like, yeah, everything he just said, like that sounds like what I'm saying on my channel. I was like, everything he's saying, I agree with. It's just like, well, what's the problem with this guy? So then I start really looking into him towards the end of last year. And I was like, yeah, what's the problem here? I don't get it. So I tried to tune into his show, and then the bottom line was, unfortunately, I don't know what the deal is with the guy, but like he'll advertise he's going live, and I'll click on it, and it's just like an hour and a half of music and like loading screens. So I only very, very recently figured out that I should just wait like 3 hours. And then if I want to watch his show, whenever he says he's going live, just assume it'll be 3 hours later. I watched a couple full shows of his over the past few weeks. I understand why he's controversial, but I'm a millennial. I'm not offended by that humor, in all honesty. And that's honestly the problem, I think, is it's just his delivery. But I'm not a tone policer. I'm not a fucking female. I'm not a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant woman. I'm Protestant, but I'm a millennial Protestant. I'm not bothered by his humor, so that doesn't bother me at all. And he's pretty spot on with stuff. And I think what really sealed the deal for me on him, truthfully, and why I started watching trying to watch full-length shows of his, was that tweet. That tweet when we started going to war in Iran. I was unfortunately the opposite of that last summer. I wasn't completely awake yet. And last summer I was like, oh, this bombing run in Iran, it's no big deal. It's no big deal. We should turn Iran into a parking lot. What do I care about them? I was like, it wasn't even a thing. And then I saw his tweet, and he was like, he accurately pretty much predicted everything that's happening right now with Trump. It's crazy. So, yeah, I tend to agree with that, at least from what I've watched. I have not consumed a lot of him. He's on late at night. I'm usually trying to go to bed. I barely even started watching his stuff, but from what I've seen, what's there to argue with? I did see his clip about voting Democrat. I guess I don't fully support that, but I understand sentiment. I'm a spiteful, hateful person. So when I see clips of that from him, I'm like, I can understand at least. I do understand. I certainly won't be voting Republican in these midterms. I just plan on staying home. Hey, Cole Ferguson, good to see you back in here. The resident liberal that we tolerate. He says, New York City seems like it's doing pretty well. Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see as he raises property taxes and as Kathy Hochul goes on TV and begs wealthy people to move back into the state so that they can be exploited for all of the benefits that they want to pass on to all the poor people. But yeah, New York City seems to be doing okay. Otherwise, seems to be doing okay. The governor's just blatantly begging for wealthy people to move back into the state because they need money. But other than that, yeah, they're doing all right. Junkrat says, continued, so I missed your first one. It makes sense to not let Russia take Ukraine because then they have more resources to spread their influence around the world. Yeah, well, it might be too late for this now, but my stance on this channel was we should have lifted sanctions off Russia a long time ago. We have more in common with Russia than we ever do when it comes to our differences. And it was honestly stupid of us to have treated Russia the way that we did and sent them running into the hands of China, which is a much bigger problem now for us. If we had kept Russia in our grasp as some sort of a workable partner, I wouldn't dare say ally, some sort of a workable partner where they're incentivized to be cozied up with us rather than China, it would have been way better. So I know what you're saying. You're technically not wrong strategically at this point, especially, but yeah. Bold. After a year on YouTube live streams, I'm awake to so much I wish I didn't know under Boss 25. I agree, man. I'm with you on that too. Knowledge, curse with knowledge. If you're a Marvel fan, you know. Cursed with knowledge. And it is true, by the way. There's block requests coming in from Bold. Only block them if they're spamming, Glenn, please. I don't mind the cattle. Why is chat so broke? I don't know. You look like a real douchebag. That's because I am. What kind of douchebag goes live on their cell phone with a background like this and talks politics? I am a douchebag. That's true. Would you expect me to deny it? Yeah, ignorance is bliss, Bold. It kind of is true. Reagan was asleep most of the time. He had narcolepsy. Oh. Seems to be a problem when you don't have age limits on political offices. We just need Israeli money out of politics, says Cole Ferguson. Yeah, well, that's true. We do. At least Gerald Ford could fall downstairs. Biden fell upstairs. Yeah. They're too old. They're just too old. Trump's too old. Trump is too old right now. Trump is literally too old. Reagan was the first to say MAGA too, says Bold. I thought that was actually once upon a time back in the 1940s, actually. But I know Reagan was one of the ones that really got some traction coining the term. Calvin Jenkins says, one term of a badass Trump was cute. 2 terms is Russian roulette. Okay, well, I still am not buying into the 3-term thing. Let me catch up, man. I am behind. Whoa, some super chats came in. Hold on. I am so behind. I didn't realize how behind I was. $1.99 super chat tariff from Core Alpha 2462. Sorry. And he says, Cenk Uygur of TYT is king. I'll be honest with you. I'm a social and fiscal conservative, but I do watch the Young Turks. I view Cenk Uygur, and this will be insulting to both of them, and I'm doing this stream actually to stand up kind of for Alex Jones, but I do view Cenk Uygur as like a liberal Alex Jones. I'll say it. They have like the same kind of vibe to them. They're both like, they get really animated, and they're screaming and yelling, and their blood pressure's going through the roof. And they definitely both believe wholeheartedly in what they're saying. And they're like part of the horseshoe effect, where truthfully they align on the one single cause that's the biggest issue right now. And so I watch them because I believe in watching not just conservative media. I do believe in watching the op. So I've checked out channels like David Pakman. I've checked out the Krasensteins. I've checked. Actually, he follows me on my X. Of all people, Brian Krasenstein, the official account, follows me. But I've checked out their stuff. I can't tolerate it for long, but I've watched it. But, whereas with David Pakman, I think he's kind of an idiot. But he's a well-presented idiot, so I can watch him in moderation. The Krasensteins, I have a hard time watching at length. The Young Turks, for some reason, I can consume it. It's very well presented, and the energy is correct. There's charisma there. There is. And I don't agree with a lot of what they're saying, but during times like these, you find yourself watching Cenk Uygur and Alex Jones back to back, and you realize that they actually align with each other, and so the messaging is actually pretty consistent. So I will be honest, even as a conservative, I watch the Young Turks. Anna Kasparian, she has some bangers once in a while. Then she'll go and say stupid feminist crap, but once in a while, and it's the energy of Cenk is what it is. Hang on. The Real Infinity by Design says, I served this country 21 years, bro. I got friends out there that lost lives over this shit because we were so unprepared for this fucking flight now. They're out there just dodging missiles. I agree, dude. Bold as a lion, those two, man. Bold as a lion's one of my viewers in here. He lost his brother in the Iraq War, and that's the reality. That's the reality of it, and that's what's even more upsetting about this. Speaking of, bold as a lion with a $2 super chat tariff. Stop everything again. He says, MAGA, same or name of the highest degree in the Church of Satan. Yeah, you've said that before in the regular chat too, and it is true. I looked it up. There's Agus again, dude. Agus is the boomer. He's the boomer op in chat. Glenn, never delete Agus because it is at least funny to read it. And he says, what did you expect would happen for a long-term psyche of people that were told that they get participation trophies? Guess what, Agus? Whose idea? Was that the millennials at age 5 who stood up and went on a protest and said, we deserve participation trophies? Or was it the boomer gaylord cucks out there who said, well, my son played hard and I never got a trophy because I was a fat weed, pot-smoking, slob, hippie boomer with no athletic ability. But my son, damn it, he's going to get a trophy because I'm living vicariously through him. And even though he inherited my fat genes, my disgusting athletic genes, my fat ankles, my tubby waist, my man boobs, my disgusting double chin, and he can't perform well in sports whatsoever, he's going to get a trophy anyway. Whose idea were participation trophies? Not millennials at age 5. It was the boomers. Once again, the softest, most disgusting generation of all time. Cole says Fuentes has been on fire lately. You're a Fuentes fan? You know what Fuentes is, right? I thought you were a liberal, Cole. Interesting. The horseshoe theory, continually proven right. Dreddy Knot says, boomers were the ones who gave the trophy. Yes, you just said it. Perfect. You just said it. I just spoke for you, Dreddy Knot, but yes, exactly. Yeah, but he cannot accept failure, bro. He's a coward, and he points his finger at everybody else. Who? Who does that? Yeah, I'm sure you got a trophy, says S. I did. I got multiple trophies. He made us look so bad militarily, we do not move. Oh, you're talking about Trump, yeah. Well, that's Trump, Hegseth, the Pentagon. Hegseth's firing all of the generals, reportedly the ones that won't agree with the war. Like, Hegseth has fired now like 3 to 5 generals in the last month. It's crazy. And yeah, by the way, we have been outmaneuvered there. The Real Affinity, you're new here, so you haven't probably watched any of my stuff yet. But you can ask my moderator, Glenn, if he's even still awake. He tends to get tired around this time. But any of my regular viewers, I've been pretty accurately analyzing the Middle East situation and saying what was going to happen, predicting it, and understanding just how bad of a circumstance this is. We'd have to take Karg Island to give the appearance of victory, but we can't hold Karg Island. Not really. We have to reopen the Strait of Hormuz to restore our reputation and credibility, but we can't really keep it open without committing political suicide and poison, which would be, of course, boots on the ground. And then even then, that's not a full guarantee we keep the Strait of Hormuz open. We definitely can't do a full-scale ground war invasion in Iran. Their military is too large. They have a defensive advantage. They have a terrain advantage. They have a geographical advantage. So what are we doing? Aircraft carriers that are there mysteriously get a hole blown into them. We have naval vessels with a hole blown into them. They are underreporting the amount of deaths happening in that region too, by the way. Underreporting it. I am almost guaranteed, I am almost positive of that. Oh, lost connection there for a second. Agus says, I'm very high IQ and I'm Generation X, as in the generation that doesn't give a fook. Gen X is the generation most likely to have died from drug overdoses and suicide. So you guys most certainly give a fook. That would require diplomacy, which this admin does not have, AR says. And I agree. I've mentioned that as a problem on this show several times, by the way. And that is, of course, that diplomacy is not really an American concept anymore. Our diplomacy comes with the heavy hammered hand of our military being the threat to back it up. And that's not what diplomacy actually is supposed to be. Not really. The military threat should always be an unspoken of term, of course, if things get really bad or go way too far. But diplomacy at its core should be more of a salesmanship element, which somebody like Trump should actually understand. But he doesn't. He does do the art of the deal stuff, but it's always misapplied. It's always half-assed because he's a populist. And diplomacy should be the ability to make deals with a country without immediately saying, and if you don't, we're going to invade your country and bomb the shit out of it. Diplomacy should be done with with good intentions in good faith, which would mean no more Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner going to the Middle East to negotiate with Iran. But it should always be done in good faith, with peace in mind, and without the need. I would say 9.9 times out of 10, diplomacy shouldn't require, if you're good at it, the threat of military action. Chat was wild tonight, says Glenn. Thank Glenn. Glenn deserves a lot of praise tonight. He's my sole moderator in chat. I am going to be appointing a second moderator, but I do appreciate it, Glenn. This channel would fall apart without you, Glenn. One day I'll be paying you, but not yet. BeckFan77 says, Reagan's free trade stance was a calculated move against the Soviet Union. Apples and oranges to today. That's fair. It doesn't change the reality of what we're in and what circumstances we're facing now as a result of that choice, though. And to be more fair to Reagan, it was George H.W. Bush that really finalized all of it, because Bush also decided that not only was it not enough to sell all of our shit overseas to instantly lower cost, which is boomer. That's boomer philosophy. What can it do for me now? I don't care about future implications. How does it fit me now? Oh, lower costs because we'll buy cheap Chinese shit? Sounds good. I'm already doing so well because the wage gap compared to costs for my generation is already really good, and all I need to do is save my money for 1 year to afford a down payment on a home, and then 6 more months beyond that to afford a second car. But I want cheaper prices now. So understand that. But then H.W. Bush comes in and goes, you know what would be even better? We could lower our cost even more if we allow foreign workers to come in here and replace the American ones who want to earn a livable wage. And that's now we're there because of that. And during the 90s, it was actually predominantly the Democrats that stood up against this shit, but they don't have the balls to do anything about it. And now that it's Trump who had initially at least taken a stand against a lot of this stuff, now they're against Trump. They were against Trump taking a stand against it. So they flip-flopped anyway. Young Turks is entertaining, to be honest. It is, Glenn. It is entertaining, and sometimes they are spot on. Sometimes. Largely, they're not. When they talk domestic stuff, they're not. That's when I get angry at them. But hey, Lifeguard, welcome, man. The political world is a circle. If you go far enough right, you end up left and vice versa. Yes. That tends to happen, doesn't it? Life of a refugee. Oh, no spam. Yep. Think bad now. Live near tech center servers. Yeah, it's all going to shit. I'm trying to see if there's anything else here. It's a Persian Empire comeback, says Robert Stuttards. Well, it's not a comeback. The Persian Empire is just the longest standing empire of all time, pretty much, at this point in time in history. And it's because, well, we're seeing because firsthand. They are a hard country to deal with. Better off left alone. And they've never been responsible, by the way. They use their proxies, yes. But the Persian Empire, it's a very misleading line to say that they're the number one state sponsor of terror. One of the biggest problems, again, is the Monroe Doctrine. If we weren't in that region, Iran would not be a problem for us. I do believe that. And I'm still waiting to see evidence of nuclear warheads that have been produced. All right. Wonder Bucket says, I live in Canada where we have more trees per capita than any other country, and yet we have a housing crisis while our largest lumber mill company is declaring bankruptcy. Isn't that something? It's not even much different here, honestly. We bail out farmers, we bail out auto industry, we bail out all of our industries because we have to at this point. But everything, we're just being used Our countries are being used. I notice you don't have a membership option, says Howard Clegg. It is available. I'm just trying to grow the channel a little bit more before I put it up there. You know, it would be like a $5 monthly option. I just want to keep growing the channel first. So be sure to subscribe to American Advocates if you haven't already. And when you do, make sure post notifications are turned on so you're notified every time I go live. But I want to grow the channel a little bit more, see where this goes, if it's going to keep growing or not. I'm not sure yet. But if it grows big enough, I'll definitely do membership options, Howard, because then I won't be able to keep up and chat as much. So I'll wind up doing membership-only streams so that presumably my OG chatters can just join as members and I can keep talking with you guys. Because that's one of the downsides. If this channel does grow, the chat will just be off the wall all the time, and then I won't be able to see the regulars' chats as much. So I'll do it at some point if it keeps growing. But for now, it would be kind of almost cringe to be like, join the channel, $5 a month, all 3,000 subscribers, please. I'm not going to do that. I'm not at a point where I'm living full-time off this channel, and, so I'm not going to push anything just yet. The super chat tariffs, those are good enough for now. I'm making more and more money per month off of stuff like that, and the viewership is growing a little bit because of the lives. So that's where I'm at as a channel right now on that. MAGA is done, says Jack9211. It's been done. But today was another, final straw moment. All right. Well, hey, I'm going to wrap it up, guys. I just had to vent. I appreciate all you guys for being here. Like I said, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Make sure post notifications are turned on. I go live every single night pretty much, and I aim to go live at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. But as noticed tonight by several of you, most likely, I do tend to go live about an hour later. It just depends. I'm busy. I own businesses. I work jobs. I got a lot going on. But anyways, yeah, please be sure to subscribe. Like the stream if you haven't already. If I missed one of your chats, because the chats were off the wall tonight again, and I was really going hard on Trump and Alex Jones and all this other crap. If I missed a chat, you really wanted me to see it, this live will save as a video on my channel. And you could just click on it, post a comment under it, and I'll respond to it. Unless it's absolutely stupid ad hominem nonsense, then I'll just laugh at it and like it so you know I saw it, but I won't dignify it with a response. But if you really want me to see something, by all means, go leave a comment on this live after the fact. And even if you didn't, go leave a comment on it anyway. Support the channel. It's free. It's literally free. Most of you don't even donate super chats on this channel. You're literally goy cow grifters. So go leave comments on my stuff. And like my post on my community tabs page. But otherwise, thank you guys. Don't give up hope. This was a crazy day, crazy coverage. The party's fractured, but sometimes things like this are a blessing, guys. The party is fractured, but something new can emerge from it. Keep the hope up. Remain optimistic. It takes courage to hope, but cowardice is a gutless act. So don't take the black pill. Don't take the doomer pill. Just realize we're in this together and we must do something about it beyond just complaining and talking. This channel will not solve our problems. I am just here to speak the truth and see it, and hopefully place that truth on your guys' hearts as well to cause your eyes to be opened and inspire you to go do something real about it. And by real, I mean we need good people running for office. And it doesn't mean you have to run for governor and be a millionaire or try to run for president and be a multimillionaire and kiss the Israel wall. You can run for small positions and make big changes in your local cities, and that has an effect on people. You can run for town council and school board. You can make changes in your cities. Try to run for mayor eventually. Or town supervisor. All of these are political positions. Sheriff, if you have law enforcement experience. Try to become a judge if you have a law degree. All of these things are ways to make small changes in our city that do, believe it or not, add up over time. And if you don't feel called to do that or qualified, find people in your town. Get politically active and find people in your city and in your town that are holding the positions that you have and support them. If not financially, support them with labor and sweat equity. Go door to door. Get people to sign lists for them, etc. Vote for them. Tell people about them. Post flyers for them. Talk about them on social media. Ask them what you can do to help them. That's what we need. We're beyond talking about it. I will continue talking about it, and one day I do have certain aspirations if my personal companies, wind up taking off. Because money is probably going to play a part, even though it shouldn't. But at a local level, you can make a difference, and it starts there, and it can go anywhere from there. So we are no longer in times where we have the luxury of working a 9 to 5 for 40 years like the boomers did with a pension and then retiring and living off Social Security and Medicare, all while spending those 50, 60 years of our life coming home and watching our 3 favorite television late night shows and going to bed. That was a luxury that is no longer afforded to us, in all honesty. Our country's being taken from us, and we cannot just live life on autopilot anymore. We must get involved. I'll leave you guys with that. Glory to America. God bless the USA, and God bless all of you, especially my regulars and all of the newcomers. A lot of new super chatters today. I appreciate that. I'll never say no to money. It is important, and it does keep this channel running. So thank you guys. Have a great rest of your evening. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'll be back live tomorrow at around 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, maybe an hour later. Take care, guys. Thank you to everybody who donated. Thank you to all the chatters, even the cattle. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you guys. Have a great evening.